Chapter 61. Rog has always wanted to know what kind of experience it is to hit vibranium with Rasengan. He originally thought that he would have to wait until Tani made the Uchiha round fan to know the answer. But what he didn't expect was that a more suitable target would come to his door. With the panther suit and the body strengthened by the heart-shaped grass, Black Panther T'Chaka was simply the second most suitable test target. As for the most suitable target, of course, it was the next Black Panther T'Chaka. Although he was strengthened by the heart-shaped grass, the current T'Chaka was more than 50 years old and was not in his peak state. However, Rog didn't particularly care about this. It's good enough to have a test target that comes to his door. Why would he want a bicycle? Although the royal warriors next to T'Chaka wanted to stop Rog, they couldn't keep up with Rog's speed and could only watch Rog hit T'Chaka with Rasengan. The moment Rasengan touched the panther's suit, Rog immediately noticed the difference between vibranium and ordinary metal. The energy was absorbed. Although chakra is a special energy unique to Rog, chakra is also a kind of energy. After Rasengan, which is completely composed of chakra, came into contact with the panther's suit, a part of its power was inevitably absorbed. However, this doesn't mean that Rasengan can't hurt T'Chaka inside the panther suit. Vibranium can indeed absorb energy, but there is a limit to the efficiency of vibranium's energy absorption. As long as the absorption efficiency of vibranium is exceeded, then vibranium can only rely on its own hardness to resist the damage. In less than a second, Rog calculated the consumption of chakra. Then he simply increased the output of chakra. After increasing the output of chakra in an instant, the absorption of chakra by the panther suit suddenly became insignificant, and the power of Rasengan began to show on the panther suit. At this time, T'Chaka was still under the control of the Sharingan Genjutsu. He stood motionless in the same place like a puppet, bearing the full damage of the Rasengan. With the protection of the Black Panther armor, although T'Chaka wasn't torn apart by the Rasengan like an ordinary person, the impact of the Rasengan still sent him flying, tumbling back dozens of meters. The severe pain allowed T'Chaka to break free from the influence of the Sharingan Genjutsu. To be precise, it was Rog who stopped the Genjutsu on him. At this time he had no time to do anything. His whole body crashed heavily into the outer wall of a house, blasting a big hole in the outer wall of the house. Although T'Chaka was blown away, Rog knew very well that the Rasengan this time would not cause too much damage to T'Chaka. Rasengan is just a pure chakra ball. It doesn't turn the wind attribute chakra into thin needles like futon, Rasen shuriken and directly attack human cells. With the protection of the Black Panther armor, the twisting and tearing force of the Rasengan was reduced by more than half. As for the remaining small part, T'Chaka could rely on his own body to resist it. As Rog expected, within a few seconds T'Chaka came out of the hole in the wall. Except for some dust on his Black Panther armor, T'Chaka didn't look any different from before. However, this was just from the perspective of a bystander. T'Chaka himself knew very well that if it wasn't for the Black Panther armor made of vibranium protecting him, the Rasengan just now would have been enough to seriously injure him. Even if the armor mitigated most of the damage, the remaining small part of the power almost made him unable to get up. T'Chaka felt like he had just been hit by a speeding train. Moreover, the train was the kind that was rotating at high speed. This guy can break the defense of the armor. Although there was no gap on the Black Panther armor, this thought still emerged in T'Chaka's mind. T'Chaka stayed in place with extreme vigilance, not daring to approach Rog rashly, for fear that he would be hit by the Rasengan again. Even now, T'Chaka still felt a little dizzy, and there were bursts of stabbing pain in his body from time to time. T'Chaka didn't launch an attack, but his two female royal warriors didn't have so many scruples. After seeing T'Chaka come out of the hole in the wall, the two royal warriors raised the vibranium spears in their hands and fiercely stabbed at Rog. Just as the vibranium spears in their hands were about to pierce Rog's body, they felt a cold touch on their necks at the same time. What followed was intense pain and endless darkness. At this time Rog was still standing in place. After noticing the attack of the two royal warriors, he directly took out two shurikens and casually threw them at them. After Bullseye's selfless teaching, his shuriken throwing technique had now reached an unimaginable level. As long as he wanted, he could make the shurikens accurately shoot at the enemy from any position and angle. After easily getting rid of the two royal warriors, Rog didn't even have the interest to look at their corpses. He directly used blink and disappeared. The moment Rog's figure disappeared, T'Chaka was on full alert, guarding against Rog's attack. But his vigilance had no meaning. When he saw Rog again, Rog was already in front of him, and there was an extra Rasengan in his right hand that was several times bigger than the previous one. Boom. Without having time to do any defense, T'Chaka was once again sent flying by the Rasengan. This time he not only crashed through a wall, but also went through the whole house and flew out from the other side. He was sent flying again, this time by a Rasengan that was several times bigger. Even with the protection of the Black Panther armor, T'Chaka was still seriously injured, and involuntarily spat a mouthful of blood into the helmet of the armor. Vibranium was indeed very strong, but it didn't mean that it couldn't be destroyed. Since a certain crazy titan in the future could cut Captain America's shield with a double-edged sword, then today Rog could also directly break T'Chaka's Black Panther armor with a Rasengan. Although Rog wasn't the crazy titan, T'Chaka's Black Panther armor wasn't the shield in Captain America's hand. In terms of defensive power, Captain America's shield was much stronger than T'Chaka's Black Panther armor. After being hit by 2 Rasengan in a row, T'Chaka had no intention of staying. Before he could send a signal, a strange-looking fighter took the initiative to fly over and fired a few shots at Rog. Chapter 62. This kind of fighter was completely different from the normal form, whether it was the appearance or the interior. At first glance, one could tell that it came from Wakanda, a strange country that was both advanced and backward. When this strange fighter just opened fire, Rog used body flicker to move his position, easily avoiding the energy cannon attack of the fighter. When Rog dodged the attack of the fighter, T'Chaka, who had fallen to the ground, jumped up and ran in the direction of the fighter. "Wanna leave? Not so easy." Although his whereabouts were locked by Wakanda's strange fighter, Rog didn't care about the fighter's attack at all. From locking to firing, he had enough time to change his position. After dodging the energy cannon shot by Wakanda's fighter again, Rog created a shadow clone to pin down Wakanda's fighter, while he used body flicker to appear behind T'Chaka. Without giving T'Chaka any time to react, Rog hit T'Chaka with the 3rd Rasengan. Boom. T'Chaka, who was wearing the Black Panther armor, was once again sent flying. After crashing through several houses in succession, he finally stopped. It wasn't until T'Chaka was sent flying that the fighter pilot discovered that there were 2 identical Rogs on the ground. Before he could react, Rog's shadow clone launched an attack at the fighter. Water release, water cannon technique. The strange liquid bullet hit the fighter at a speed faster than the speed of sound, leaving a finger-sized hole in the fighter's hull. The fighter's hull wasn't made of vibranium? After discovering this, Rog's shadow clone didn't hesitate and once again used the water cannon technique. However, this time the liquid bullet didn't cause any damage to the fighter. Although the fighter's hull wasn't made of vibranium, the Wakanda engineers wisely added vibranium to the key parts that could cause serious damage. After all, only by staying alive can you deal damage. After being attacked by the shadow clone twice in a row, the fighter pilot finally reacted and pressed the energy cannon's firing button again. Boom. The energy cannon hit the position of the shadow clone, but it didn't cause any threat to the shadow clone. When the fighter's cannon's muzzle began to shine, the shadow clone used body flicker to leave the place. The energy cannonballs only hit the ground. Although Rog's shadow clone was forced to retreat, the pilot of the fighter jet helplessly discovered that he was now in a situation where he could neither advance nor retreat. In order to pick up King T'Chaka on the ground, the fighter had to maintain a low altitude. Otherwise, T'Chaka would not be able to enter the fighter. However, if they maintained a low altitude, they would be attacked. And what's more troublesome is that from the second the fighter lifted its stealth state, the fighter's signal appeared on the radar of the U.S. military and shield. The U.S. military and shield can't leave the situation here alone. Unsurprisingly, the U.S. military and shield's fighters are now on their way. The longer this dragged on, the worse the situation would become. In desperation, the fighter pilot had no choice but to choose a more extreme solution. Activate all your weapons and forcefully clear the area. Although this would pose a threat to the lives of the surrounding civilians, the fighter pilot couldn't think too much at this time. The surrounding civilians were just a bunch of foreigners to him, while T'Chaka was his king. Sacrificing the lives of these people to save T'Chaka didn't seem wrong to him. Even if he would be severely punished afterwards, he didn't care. Although T'Chaka, who was knocked away, didn't know the fighter pilot's thoughts, he immediately reacted after seeing the weapons loaded on the fighter enter a state of activation. After seeing this scene, T'Chaka did not hesitate and immediately activated the communicator on his battle suit and issued an order to the pilot in the fighter. "Stop the attack. Stop the attack immediately." After that, T'Chaka stood up from the ground, took the initiative to take off the Black Panther helmet, and said to Rog not far in front of him, "This is a misunderstanding. I hope we can solve this problem in a peaceful way." After that, Ishaka silently wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Things have developed to the present, and it has completely deviated from his plan. According to his original plan, they should have been able to capture Rog easily, and then get information about Ulysses' crow from Rog's mouth, and finally return to Wakanda with the information and the stolen vibranium. But he didn't expect that Rog actually had power far beyond his imagination. At first, he thought that the Shadow Clone was Rog, so he attacked the Shadow Clone together with the two royal warriors. Although their sneak attack was successful, the Shadow Clone that was attacked also turned into a cloud of smoke and disappeared. Just as they were puzzled, Rog rushed over, and then he was hit by 3 Rasengan. After being hit by the Rasengan 3 times in a row, he also roughly guessed Rog's plan. Rog is conducting some kind of test on him. It may be to test the power of the light blue energy ball, or it may be to test the defensive ability of the Black Panther battlesuit. But no matter what the test is, it means that Rog has no intention to kill him. As soon as he figured this out, he saw all the weapons on the fighter enter a state of activation. So he had to take the initiative to take off his helmet and admit defeat, to prevent things from developing in a worse direction. After glancing at T'Chaka, Rog first dispelled the Shadow Clone and then said, "Tell me, how do you plan to solve this misunderstanding peacefully? Can we talk somewhere else?" T'Chaka pointed to the surrounding onlookers. Although the battle between them caused a lot of noise, what really attracted these onlookers was not the battle between them, but the strange-looking Wakanda fighter in the air. How can 2 people fighting be more attractive than a UFO? Moreover, these people couldn't see the battle between Rog and T'Chaka at all. They could only see a loud bang, the wall broke and people fell down. "Fly the fighter out of here without my order, you are not allowed to remove the stealth state." After giving the order to the fighter pilot, T'Chaka returned to the office with Rog. "Okay, now can we talk about your so-called peaceful solution?" Leaning back in the chair, Rog said casually. "In order to express my apologies, I will give you a compensation. The specific content of the compensation is up to you. As long as I can do it, I will satisfy you." As Rog expected, T'Chaka's so-called peaceful solution is to spend money to eliminate the disaster. As the king of a country, T'Chaka has enough confidence to say such words. However, he obviously underestimated Rog. "Is that so? Then I want a heart-shaped grass." Chapter 63. T'Chaka was prepared for Rog to demand an exorbitant price, but after hearing Rog's words, he realized that he had underestimated Rog. Heart-shaped grass was a mystical plant that only the king of Wakanda or his successor had the right to consume. For Wakanda, the heart-shaped grass not only ensured the existence of the king's power, but also symbolized the king's legitimacy. "I will never give you the heart-shaped grass. Change it to something else." T'Chaka tried his best to control his emotions. He kept telling himself in his heart that he must not get angry, he must not get angry. Looks like the king of Wakanda isn't trustworthy. He just made a promise and now he's going back on his word. Wakanda isn't good enough. They haven't kept up with the education of integrity. Before he made the request, Rog was very clear that T'Chaka would never give him the heart-shaped grass. The reason he purposely made such a request was to suppress T'Chaka's arrogance. "So what if you are the king of Wakanda? So what if you have the extremely rare vibranium? In front of me you'd better put down your so-called arrogance." To be humiliated in front of his face by someone who was much younger than him, this was undoubtedly something that was harder to accept than defeat for T'Chaka. Even so, T'Chaka still tried his best to control his emotions, preventing himself from doing something he shouldn't do in a moment of impulse. Before you make a promise, it's best to confirm if you can keep it. Otherwise, the more handsome you are when you make a promise, the more humiliating it will be when you can't keep it. Rog ignored T'Chaka's darkening expression. From his point of view, T'Chaka's expression had always been like this. "I didn't think it through enough. I wonder if you can change your request now?" Since he had already been humiliated to such an extent, T'Chaka didn't care about losing his dignity anymore. He used a soft tone to ask quietly. "This is the attitude to resolve a misunderstanding peacefully. Since you are so sincere, I won't make things difficult for you. Give me 10 tons of vibranium and the research you guys have done on how to use vibranium, and I'll pretend this never happened." Hearing Rog's request, T'Chaka finally breathed a sigh of relief. Compared with the extremely limited amount of heart-shaped grass, the mountainous amount of vibranium was obviously much cheaper. As for the information about vibranium, although it was precious, it was just a piece of information compared to the heart-shaped grass. "No problem. I will send someone to deliver the vibranium within a week." After reaching a consensus, Taishaka left the firm and disappeared from the top floor of the firm like a real Black Panther. The Punisher spent more than half a month to snatch a few dozen kilograms of vibranium from Wakanda. In the end, Rog spent less than 10 minutes to obtain 10 tons of vibranium from Wakanda's King T'Chaka. Sometimes life was full of surprises. After T'Chaka left, Rog once again summoned his shadow doppelganger and assigned it the same task. After doing all this, he returned home with the Flying Thunder God, turned on the PS4, and played the blacksmithing game where hesitation will lead to defeat. 4 or 5 hours later, he glanced at the annoying red word, danger, on the screen and sighed helplessly. He was about to successfully clear the level and defeat the final boss with the name of Blade Master. However, at that moment he received the feedback that his shadow doppelganger was removed. In that moment of distraction he saw the word, danger, that he had seen countless times. Putting down the game controller in his hand, Rog returned to the firm with the Flying Thunder God, ready to go to Culver University with kunai and shuriken. Just as he was about to leave, his cell phone on the table suddenly rang. The caller ID showed that it was a call from Tani. It can't be that fast, right? It had only been 5 hours since he gave the vibranium ore to Tani. You need to come over right now, right now? After that, Tani hung up the phone. In the short 2 or 3 seconds of the call, Rog heard some strange sounds from the background of the call. Without any hesitation, he immediately used the Flying Thunder God and teleported to Tani's garage. As soon as his figure appeared in the garage, a bolt of lightning as thick as an arm struck him. Boom! The light blue lightning instantly passed through his position and hit the wall behind him, leaving a very obvious big hole in the wall. Before he could figure out what happened, the second and third lightning came in front of him. The speed of these 2 lightning bolts was not slow, but the flying Thor was faster. Rog's figure disappeared again, and the 2 lightning bolts missed again, leaving 2 obvious holes in the garage wall. After returning to the garage through the flying Thor, he was much more careful. He avoided the lightning bolts everywhere and came to Tani's side. What the hell did you do? The thing that is crazily releasing lightning is not something else, it is the vibranium Uchiha round fan that Rog asked Tani to make. I fused the vibranium ore you brought with an antique spear I bought at an auction in Norway, and added some other metals, and then it became what it is now. When he heard the word Norway, Rog instinctively noticed that something was wrong. In the normal world, Norway is an ordinary Nordic country. But if some other unnatural factors are considered, Norway is a country with rich heritage. Speaking of it, it's not a very special thing, it's just that the Asgard people prefer Norway. The Nordic mythology originated from Norway, and to some extent, it can be basically equivalent to the biography of the Asgard people. Are you kidding me? Even if Tani added some strange things to it, it is absolutely impossible to cause this situation. The vibranium Uchiha round fan is now crazily releasing lightning. This is definitely not a normal phenomenon after several materials have been fused together. In order to test whether this thing has the function of storing and releasing energy as you said, I charged it with an arc reactor. After saying that, Tani pointed to a workbench not far away. On the workbench, there are more than 20 small arc reactors that are no longer emitting light. At this time, although Tani is hiding in the Mark III, Rog is very sure that this guy is definitely hiding something. But this is not the main point now is how to deal with the vibranium Uchiha round fan. Chapter 64. According to Tani, the reason why the vibrating golden round fan could discharge electricity was because he used the arc reactor to charge the round fan. Although this was a bit too much, in any case the energy in the round fan was limited. This also meant that even if they did nothing, the energy in the round fan would completely disappear due to the passage of time. However, how long would this take? Rog and Tani couldn't be sure. The only thing they could be sure of now was that if the round fan continued to discharge electricity, it wouldn't be long before Tani's mansion would become a pile of ruins. After thinking quickly for a few seconds, Rog quickly made a decision. Throw the round fan into the sea. Rog immediately summoned 4 shadow clones and assigned them different tasks. One of the shadow clones immediately went to the sea outside, and the other 3 thought of a way to approach and take the round fan. As long as one of the 3 shadow clones could touch the round fan, then the shadow clones could directly take the round fan through the flying Thor. The idea was beautiful, but the reality was cruel. The 3 shadow clones responsible for taking the round fan had just taken a few steps when they were struck by lightning and turned into smoke. After the 3 shadow doppelgangers disappeared, Rog used shadow doppelganger again and summoned 8 more shadow doppelgangers. The result this time was slightly better than before. The shadow clone with the best result was less than 3 meters away from the round fan. After repeated attempts, A shadow clone that used blink and thousand bird flow finally arrived in front of the round fan and put its right hand on the round fan. Just as the shadow clone's right hand touched the circular fan, the intense electric current released by the circular fan penetrated his body, turning him into a cloud of smoke. The moment before it turned into smoke, the shadow clone used its last thought to leave the flying Thor on the round fan. After leaving the flying Thor on the round fan, the next step was much simpler. The electric fan was successfully taken away by the shadow clone, and Tony's garage finally returned to normal. Just as Tony heaved a sigh of relief, a violent explosion like that of a nuclear bomb rang out in the sea several kilometers away. Boom. Although the location of the explosion was in the sea several kilometers away, Tony and Rog in the garage could still clearly feel the earthquake-like vibration. A few seconds later, the tremors disappeared and everything returned to normal. If there's a next time, I hope you can start with the smallest amount of testing. There was no problem in testing the energy absorption level of the circular fan. However, directly using 25 arc reactors to conduct the test was very problematic. This was not something Tony would do. More than 10 minutes later, a drenched shadow clone brought the fan back to the garage. In order to find the round fan that had fallen into the sea as soon as possible and most likely had its location changed due to the explosion, Rog sent out 20 shadow doppelgangers. The drenched doppelganger turned into a puff of smoke and disappeared after he handed over the circular fan that was still releasing weak electric currents to Rog. Only then did Tony ask Rog, "Your ability is very special. After I lost to you last time, I carefully reviewed everything at that time, including all the data collected at that time. But all the information collected shows that you are no different from the puppets that turn into smoke and disappear. How did you do this?" Rog was not surprised that Tony would ask this kind of question. After all, from the beginning he used the shadow clone again and again in front of Tony. "You can think of this as my superpower. As for how I did it, it will be very complicated to explain." After saying this, Rog stopped and did not continue. After seeing that Rog did not intend to continue, Tony did not continue to ask and change the topic. "Although this thing is not what I planned according to the performance just now, this thing should meet your requirements." After saying that, Tony took out a suitcase and opened it in front of Rog. Inside the suitcase, there were 10 flying Thor kunai made of vibranium, and a straight katana more than 1 meter long. "Plus these, I have done what you asked me to do." Rog did not look at the 10 flying Thor kunai, but picked up the straight katana. From the appearance alone, this katana is exactly the same as Uchiha Sasuke's Kusanagi sword. Under Tony's gaze, Rog's right hand holding the katana appeared with a light blue chakra visible to the naked eye. A few seconds later, a satisfied smile appeared on his face. Although he doesn't know how Tony did it, the katana in his hand completely meets his requirements, and it can even be said that it gave him a big surprise. After Tony fused with the antique spear he bought from Norway, it has excellent energy absorption and release performance. His chakra can flow through every inch of the katana without any influence, and it can also greatly enhance the sharpness of the katana. This katana is simply tailor-made for chakra. "I am very satisfied with this. When do you want me to fulfill my promise?" After hearing Rog's words, Tony said directly without thinking, "Now the location is still outside." He is still wearing Mark III, and after he finished speaking he took the lead and flew out, waiting for Rog's arrival. In order to let Tony build a weapon, Rog agreed to his request. "Fight again." This is the condition Tony gave. Rog was happy to accept Tony's request. When Tony, wearing Mark III, left the garage, Rog's figure also disappeared from the garage. A minute later he returned to the garage with a wet Tony. "Keep up the good work, I believe you will be able to develop a better battle suit next time." After comforting Tony, Rog returned to the office with the round fan that was still releasing a weak current, and the suitcase containing the katana and Thor kunai. After the last failure, Tony readjusted the armor of the battle suit, making the battle suit more resistant to penetration. But what he didn't expect was that Rog's tactics this time were completely different from the last time. It was still a strange appearance. Tony only saw Rog hit a light blue ball on the chest of the battle suit, and then nothing happened. The battle suit lost power and fell into the sea. If Rog hadn't fished him out later, he would have been sleeping at the bottom of the sea. After returning to the office, Rog put the suitcase and the round fan on the table, and a question came to his mind. What should he name this round fan and samurai sword? Chapter 65. If a sword looks like a Kusanagi sword, its sharpness is also like a Kusanagi sword, and it can also cast Chidori blade like a Kusanagi sword. Then there is no problem in calling it a Kusanagi sword. Rog quickly chose a name for the Vibranium Samurai Sword. Since the Vibranium Samurai Sword is called Kusanagi Sword, then the name of the Vibranium Fan is also obvious. The Uchiha Round Fan, also known as the Flame Fan, symbolizes the proficiency of the Uchiha clan in using fire release ninjutsu. The Uchiha clan's round fan emblem also came from this. Compared to fire release, Rog is better at lightning release. At this time he only knows one fire release, which is the Grand Fire Annihilation that he exchanged from the system. As for lightning release ninjutsu, he has mastered 3, namely Chidori, Chidori Egi and Chidori Stream. And after having the Kusanagi sword made by Tani, he will soon master another lightning release ninjutsu, Chidori Blade. So he decided to change the flame fan that symbolizes the Uchiha clan's fire release ninjutsu to Thunder Fan that is more suitable for himself. The name Thunder Fan is also to commemorate another classic anime he once watched before crossing over. Thunder Fan and Kusanagi sword will be his main weapons for a long time if nothing unexpected happens. As for the Flying Thor Kunai, it will be used for teleportation positioning and cleaning up the trash as before. Rog planned to go to Culver University in Virginia today to meet Dr. Banner's girlfriend, Dr. Betty Ross. But Tani's super high efficiency disrupted his plan, so he decided to let his only subordinate go to Culver University instead of him. After creating a shadow clone, Rog returned home with the Kusanagi sword and Thunder Fan, intending to practice the Chidori blade that he has been thinking about for a long time. With the experience of self-learning Chidori Egi and Chidori Stream, self-learning Chidori blade is not a difficult thing for him. After Rog returned home, the shadow clone directly came to him through the Flying Thor Jutsu on the Punisher, and at the same time told the Punisher about the plan. The Punisher had no objection to Rog's arrangement. Although just a few hours ago Rog let him have a good rest. But with his Edo body he doesn't feel tired at all, so the word has no meaning to him. A few minutes later, the shadow clone left New York with the readied Punisher and teleported to Culver University in Virginia. After completing the shadow clone actively disappears into smoke and disappeared in front of the Punisher. 3 days passed in a flash. In these 3 days, Roger successfully learned Chidori Blade and mastered the ninjutsu that he wanted for a long time. At the same time he spent 20 ninja coins to exchange for summoning jutsu from the system. Summoning jutsu is summoning without technique. Summoning with technique requires a blood contract between the caster and the summoning creature, and then when needed, the caster can summon the summoning creature with summoning technique. The key to summoning with technique lies in the blood contract, so blood must be used as a medium. That's why when summoning a summoning creature, you usually need to bite your finger. Of course, if you don't bite your finger you can also use blood from other places, this is purely a personal choice. Compared with summoning with technique, summoning without technique is much simpler. Summoning without technique is usually used to summon some ninja tools or other items. For example, first Hokage's Rashomon and various ninja tools. When exchanging summoning technique, the system also gave a blood contract scroll to Rog. After exchanging summoning technique, Rog went to Tani's mansion and threw his Mark III and other Kung Fu figurines into the summoning scroll that he had prepared beforehand. Then he threw in Kusanagi sword, Thunder Round Fan, Flying Thor Kunai, Shuriken and other ninja tools. Although Kusanagi sword and Thunder Round Fan look very handsome, if he carries them with him he will still look Chinibyu. So if it's not necessary he won't carry Kusanagi sword and Thunder Round Fan with him. After returning to the office, Erika handed a box to Rog. Inside the box is a white mask and a black robe. This is the mask and robe that Rog took time to come back to the office 3 days ago, and then arranged for Erika to customize. The shape of the mask is basically the same as Obito's 3-tomo white mask. The only difference is that the tomo on the top of the mask is complete and there is no hole. And the black robe is exactly the same as the Akatsuki's black cloud robe. 3-tomo mask, black cloud robe, Kusanagi sword and Thunder Round Fan. This is the fighting image that Rog created for himself in the future. After throwing the 3-tomo mask and the black cloud robe into the summon scroll, his figure disappeared from the office and came to Culver University where Banner's girlfriend, Dr. Ross, was studying. At this time, Culver University was not as calm as a normal university should be. Police and soldiers were everywhere on the campus. Rog was not surprised by this strange scene, because all of this was arranged by him. 3 days ago he arranged a new task for Punisher through his shadow clone. Kidnap Betty Ross and blow up all the laboratories that Banner used and do it as high profile as possible. The Punisher kidnapped Dr. Ross, who was in class, in front of everyone in a high profile way, and then installed a time bomb in the laboratory used by Banner. Not only that, after the kidnapping and explosion, he also contacted the local news media and several large domestic media outlets, and provoked the local police and the FBI. Then the scene before his eyes happened. The local police and the FBI agents rushed to Culver University as soon as possible. As for the UA troops that appeared on the campus, they were sent by General Ross. Originally, this kind of thing was not suitable for the military to intervene. Even if Dr. Ross was General Ross' daughter, it was not convenient for him to send people over. However, the Punisher gave General Ross a very good reason to intervene. The next day, after provoking the local police and the FBI, the Punisher contacted the media again and gave them a video recording at the same time. In the video, Dr. Ross was normal. She was neither panicked nor haggard, and she talked about the days when she and Banner carried out research together in a very calm tone. The research that Dr. Ross talked about was the secret biotechnological strength enhancement experiment that General Ross was conducting. This video was specially ordered by Rog. He wanted to use this video to fish out Bruce Banner, who was hiding somewhere. Chapter 66. Even S.H.I.E.L.D. and the military couldn't find Banner, a physics doctor with a concealment talent, so Rog naturally wouldn't waste his time looking for Banner. Since he can't find you, then he'll let you show up. After the accident, Banner didn't contact Dr. Ross once. But Rog was sure that Banner had always been concerned about Dr. Ross' safety. The reason why he didn't show up was to protect Dr. Ross. So Rog planned this kidnapping and let the Punishers make a big deal out of it. Only in this way can Banner, who is hiding somewhere, know the news and make him show up. His beloved girlfriend was kidnapped and he had the strength to save his girlfriend. Under such circumstances, Rog wasn't afraid that Banner wouldn't show up. As for whether Banner would hold a grudge against him or not, he didn't care at all. The Punishers who kidnapped Dr. Ross have nothing to do with me, Rog. Just as he was wandering around Culver University with a relaxed expression, he saw two familiar figures. One was Coulson, whose hairline was receding, and the other was Black Widow Natasha, who was wearing casual clothes. S.H.I.E.L.D. is also here, and it's getting more and more lively here. The police, the FBI, and the military have all appeared, and it's not surprising that S.H.I.E.L.D. is here. When Rog saw Coulson and Natasha, they also saw Rog and then took the initiative to come over. You're the one who arranged everything here, right? As soon as she arrived, Natasha took the initiative to speak. Others may not know the reason, but Natasha can see at a glance that this is Rog's doing. It was obvious that Dr. Ross's kidnapping was to lure out the hidden Bruce Banner. Although you are a senior agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., you can't accuse people of nothing. When the kidnapping happened, I was still in New York and many people at the scene saw the appearance of the kidnapper. The kidnapper didn't look like me at all. Natasha didn't believe a word of Rog's explanation. Although Rog's move seems a bit excessive, S.H.I.E.L.D. itself is not a righteous organization. In order to achieve their goals, S.H.I.E.L.D. has done a lot of shameful things. No matter what, I hope Dr. Ross can come back safely. Natasha hinted to Rog not to go too far. Even if Natasha didn't say anything, Rog wouldn't hurt Dr. Ross. His goal from beginning to end was to draw out Banner and then hand Banner over to S.H.I.E.L.D. As for what will happen to Banner after handing it over to S.H.I.E.L.D., it is no longer in his consideration. However, he believed that Hulk, this energetic little guy, would definitely protect Banner's life. After chatting for a while, Rog left Culver University and the Flying Thunder God arrived beside the Punisher. After kidnapping Dr. Roth, the Punisher did not immediately take her out of the city. Instead, he took her back to a neighborhood near her house. Before the kidnapping began, the Punisher was fully prepared. For example, the weapons and transportation needed during the operation, the hiding place needed after the operation, and so on. He was fully prepared. His current location is less than a kilometer away from Dr. Ross' house. And he has investigated that the owner of this house happened to go on a trip with his family some time ago, so no one will appear here for a while. After bringing Dr. Ross here, he did not place any restrictions on Dr. Ross except for restricting her from leaving here and contacting the outside world. He even ordered pizzas from Dr. Roth's favorite pizzeria several times. In terms of his identity as a kidnapper, he is definitely one of the top 10 kidnappers of the year. When Rog arrived, the Punisher stood up, left the living room and returned to the room. Dr. Ross was watching the latest news reports and the sudden appearance of Rog scared her. But she quickly calmed down and looked at Rog calmly. Are you the one who instructed Frank to kidnap me? In the past 3 days, Dr. Ross has been getting along well with the Punisher, so she knows what the Punisher is called and even knows why the Punisher looks different from ordinary people. However, the Punisher knows very well what can be said and what can't. About Rog's identity and the true purpose of this mission. Yes, I'm the one who asked Frank to kidnap you. After that, Rog sat down opposite Dr. Ross and picked up a piece of pizza at the same time. After eating a few bites, he continued, although it's cliché, I think it's still necessary to say something. I don't mean any harm to you. I just want your boyfriend, Banner, to appear so you don't have to worry about your life. As long as Banner appears, you can go back. It has to be said that the pizza in this shop is really good. No wonder Betty Ross and Bruce Banner like it. Banner? When the accident happened, Dr. Ross was injured and unconscious. Since that day, she has never seen Banner again, nor has she received any information from Banner. He should still be alive now, I just don't know where he is. At this time, Banner had just finished a day's work. He returned to his place of residence and prepared an ordinary dinner for himself. Then he picked up a thick Portuguese-English dictionary, intending to eat his dinner while learning Portuguese, the official language of Brazil. Just as he turned on the TV and was about to learn Portuguese from the TV program, he accidentally saw a piece of news while changing channels. Although he still doesn't understand Portuguese and the picture on the TV is not particularly clear, he still recognized the person on the TV at a glance. This is an international channel that occasionally broadcasts some foreign news, such as American news. He recognized the person in the news report, the woman whose photo he still kept even when he was on the run. After seeing this scene, he immediately turned on his computer and began to search for relevant news information. When he searched for relevant news reports, the bracelet in his hand made a harsh alarm sound. His heartbeat rate began to rise rapidly, and his breathing became more and more rapid. Just as the blood vessels on his neck bulged and revealed an abnormal green color, he finally reacted. He quickly breathed in and out, gradually calming his heartbeat. After his heartbeat returned to its normal frequency, he turned off the computer and began to pack his luggage. After more than a year on the run, he decided to return to the United States. Chapter 67. If he can't even protect the woman he likes, then what kind of man is he? Although Banner is a cultured person, he is definitely not a cultured person. He had been on the run before because he wanted to study a way to turn himself back into a normal person, not because he was afraid of General Ross. After briefly sorting out his belongings, Banner pushed open the door and left without looking back. After talking to Dr. Ross, Rog returned to his home in New York with the Flying Thunder God, turned on the PS4 again, and continued his blacksmith game. Before leaving, he left a shadow clone for Punisher and asked the shadow clone to assist Punisher and prevent them from being found by the FBI or S.H.I.E.L.D. 4 days passed in the blink of an eye. When Roger finally cleared the level of the blacksmithing game, he received a notification that his shadow clone skill had been removed. After receiving the feedback, he didn't hesitate to put on a black robe, put on a 3-tomo mask, and took the Kusanagi sword and the Thunder Round fan. Then he directly used the Flying Thunder God and teleported to Culver University in Virginia. When he arrived here, the first thing he saw was the angry Hulk with green skin. After 4 days of travel, Banner finally returned to this place that he was once very familiar with, but as soon as he appeared, a heavily armed army rushed out of the school and completely surrounded him. This army was specially arranged by General Ross, and there was only one purpose, that is, to capture Banner. Under the command of General Ross, the desperate Banner could only transform into Hulk and fight a head-on battle with these heavily armed soldiers. Then it was a one-sided ravage. Although General Ross had made sufficient preparations and had even formed a special forces team with rich experience, he was still not prepared. But under the huge gap in strength, all his preparations seemed meaningless. If it weren't for S.H.I.E.L.D., who was hidden in the dark, suddenly intervening in the battle, Hulk would have been nowhere to be found. Even so, Hulk still showed unparalleled tyrannical power, defeating S.H.I.E.L.D. special forces. The current Culver University was not so much a university as a battlefield. It was a battlefield where the human army fought against non-human monsters. After arriving here, Rog first sized up the surrounding environment, then slowly walked towards Hulk, who was not far away. At this time, Hulk was attacking S.H.I.E.L.D. special forces like a beast. When he saw Rog wearing a black magic cloud robe and holding a thunder fan coming towards him, he decisively changed his target. General Ross was the first to discover Rog because his position just happened to be near the flying Thor. Looking at the strangely dressed Rog who suddenly appeared like a ghost, General Ross's first reaction was that this person was Hulk's helper. However, this thought was quickly overturned by himself because he saw an eagerness to fight from Rog. General Ross, who has been in the army for decades, knows what this fighting spirit means, so he silently put away the weapon in his hand and then watched Rog walk towards Hulk. The distance of dozens of meters was almost in the blink of an eye for Hulk, who was running at full speed. When Hulk rushed to Rog like an ancient beast and punched him with all his strength, Rog raised the thunder fan in his hand and blocked it in front of him. Hulk's fist slammed into the thunder fan in Rog's hand. Just when everyone thought that Roger would be sent flying by Hulk's punch, they saw a scene that they didn't expect at all. Rog, who was holding the thunder fan, was not sent flying. The thunder fan in his hand was not broken, and there was not even a loud impact. Hulk's punch seemed to have hit cotton, and it didn't have any effect at all. Only Rog himself knew that Hulk's punch still had some effect. The thunderous round fan didn't let him down. It blocked Hulk's punch without any injury, but the huge force still made him take a few steps back. If he hadn't mobilized chakra in time to enhance his strength, Hulk's punch would have been enough to push him 5 or 6 meters away. Looking at the somewhat unreasonable scene in front of them, General Ross and S.H.I.E.L.D.'s agents were shocked. They may not know how powerful Hulk is, but they are sure that Hulk's power is definitely not something that humans can resist. Hulk is someone who can even throw a military Hummer like a toy ball. Even if he doesn't use his full strength, his punch is enough to destroy anything in front of him. Although it was unbelievable, they had to admit that this strange guy with a white mask and a black robe did block Hulk's punch. If my men also have this kind of power, then... Thinking of this, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s captain and General Ross involuntarily looked at each other and regarded Rog as someone on the other side. After confirming that the thunder fan could block Hulk's punch, Rog under the mask showed a satisfied smile. After finding that his fist did not cause any damage to Rog, Hulk threw a few more punches at Rog, trying to knock down the guy in strange clothes in front of him. Although Hulk's attack speed is very fast, Rog's reaction speed is even faster. Every punch that Hulk threw out was blocked by the thunderous fan. While resisting Hulk's attack, Rog also took the time to throw a few fixed body technique on Hulk. Just as Hulk's attack did not exert the power it should have, the fixed body technique that Rog threw out was no exception, and all of them failed. To be precise, it is not that it has failed. It is that Hulk's physical fitness is too abnormal, causing the effect of the fixed body technique to be infinitely close to zero. In this case, it is completely impossible to use quantity to make up for quality. After realizing that the fixed body technique had no effect at all, Rog did not hesitate and threw a dark walk technique on Hulk, trying to deprive Hulk of his vision. Like the fixed body technique, the dark walk technique did not have any effect at all. When the physical fitness is strengthened to a certain extent, it is enough to offset most of the negative effects. After blocking Hulk's punches, Rog used the body flicker technique to open the distance, then put away the thunder fan and pulled out the Kusanagi sword. Since the auxiliary ninjutsu didn't work, he directly used the offensive ninjutsu. With a thought, a light blue lightning visible to the naked eye appeared on the Kusanagi sword. Raitun, Chidori Blade. Chapter 68. The light blue lightning wrapped around the Kusanagi sword like an electric snake, and at the same time, it sounded like 1,000 birds chirping. The chirping sound made Hulk, who was already in a state of anger, even more irritable. Looking at the Kusanagi sword in Rog's hand that was constantly chirping, Hulk let out an inhuman roar and then rushed towards him. Although speed is not Hulk's strength, it also depends on what he's compared to. Compared to his own strength and physique, his speed is indeed not fast. But to the others, Hulk was like a heavy truck driving at the speed of an F1 car. In just a blink of an eye, Hulk arrived in front of Rog, and his huge right fist smashed towards Rog. In terms of strength and physique, Rog is far inferior to Hulk. But in terms of speed, Rog has never been afraid of anyone. Just as Hulk's right fist was about to hit him, his eyes suddenly changed from black to a bloody red. 3 Tomo Sharingan. After opening the Sharingan, he moved. Almost like teleportation, Rog's figure disappeared in an instant in front of Hulk. At the same time, Hulk's right arm felt a very obvious numbness. This feeling of numbness that could completely paralyze an ordinary person only lasted for a few milliseconds on Hulk's body before it completely disappeared, as if it had never appeared. Then, after the numbness disappeared, Hulk still felt a trace of pain from his right arm. At this time, although Hulk didn't have much rationality, his biological instinct still made him turn his head and look at his right arm. On his right arm, which is thicker than an adult man's waist, there is a wound of more than 10 centimeters. Although this wound is more than 10 centimeters long, it's not deep, and it didn't have a significant impact on Hulk's right arm. The person who left this wound is not someone else, but Rog, who just disappeared in front of him. Although the Kusanagi sword in Rog's hand is not the original Kusanagi sword from the system, its sharpness is not much worse than the real Kusanagi sword. When he taught himself Chidori blade, he tested the sharpness of Kusanagi sword in order to compare it with Kusanagi sword, Chidori blade. Even without the Chidori blade, the Kusanagi sword in his hand can easily cut a metal rod with a diameter of 3 centimeters without any damage. With the addition of Chidori edge, the sharpness of the Kusanagi sword has undergone a qualitative change. Needless to say, even the flying Thor kunai made entirely of vibranium couldn't resist the Kusanagi sword with Chidori edge. With just 2 strikes, the flying Thor kunai made of vibranium would be completely cut into 2. However, even with such astonishing sharpness, the Kusanagi sword, Chidori edge, still seems somewhat powerless against Hulk. That sword strike just now, Rog did not hold back at all. However, the result was not as good as he had imagined. Whether it was the length or the depth of the wound, this sword did not bring any obvious harm to Hulk. More than 10 centimeters long and 2 or 3 centimeters deep, this kind of wound may be a serious injury for ordinary people. But for the 3 or 4 meters tall, strong and messy Hulk, this kind of injury was only a little more serious than a broken skin. Rog was very dissatisfied with his own attack, and General Ross and others who were observing them with binoculars in the distance couldn't help but swallow their saliva. They used enough weapons and equipment to fight a siege of a city, but they couldn't leave any obvious scars on Hulk's body. But now they saw an obvious wound on Hulk's body. Although they didn't see how Rog launched the attack, they were 100% sure that the wound on Hulk's right arm was caused by the katana in Rog's hand that was wrapped in electric current and constantly making chirping sounds. What's wrong with this world? The damage of firearms is actually not as good as cold weapons. Is this still the world that pays attention to scientific rules? Can this world still be good? Just as General Ross and others looked at Rog and Hulk in the distance in disbelief, Bronsky, who was next to General Ross, showed an extremely strong desire in his eyes. This kind of power, this kind of form, this is simply the most perfect creature in the world. If it wasn't for the serious danger of getting close to Hulk, Bronsky really wanted to touch Hulk's body with his own hands and feel the power contained in that perfect body. While General Ross and others were shocked, Rog launched an attack on Hulk. Although Kusanagi sword, Chidori blade can't cause significant damage to Hulk, it is not weak to the point that it can't hurt Hulk at all. Even if it can only cut a wound of more than 10 centimeters, as long as he continues to cut, it will eventually reach the point where Hulk's muscles and bones are hurt. After discovering that he was injured, Hulk, who was already angry, became even angrier, and his fists smashed towards Rog without any pattern. Hulk's attack seems to be very powerful, but this kind of attack is full of loopholes. Rog can dodge it even with his eyes closed. However, at this time he did not directly get out of Hulk's attack range, but his legs slightly pushed and he jumped directly in front of Hulk. Hulk didn't know why Rog did this, but when he saw Rog jump in front of him, a cruel smile appeared on his big green face. I'm going to skin this guy alive. This is Hulk's own idea. If it was Banner, even if his right arm was injured by Rog, he wouldn't have such a cruel idea. To some extent, Banner and Hulk are like 2 sides of the same coin. Hulk is impulsive and irritable, while Banner is calm. Hulk is good at solving problems with force, while Banner is good at solving problems with wisdom. Just as Hulk was about to use the cruelest method to kill this guy in front of him, who had made him feel an inexplicable sense of disgust ever since he appeared, he saw a pair of blood-red eyes with 3 Tomo. Sharingan Genjutsu. Rog originally didn't intend to use Sharingan Genjutsu, but Hulk's ability to take a beating far exceeded his expectations, so he had to use Sharingan Genjutsu as a backup plan. Just now he had already used Genjutsu, Dark Walk Jutsu on Hulk, but Hulk ignored the influence of Dark Walk Jutsu with his incredible body. Although Dark Walk Jutsu doesn't work on Hulk, this doesn't mean that Hulk can completely ignore the influence of Genjutsu. Moreover, what Rog used this time is not an ordinary Genjutsu, but a Genjutsu that originated from Sharingan. Anger is the source of Hulk's strength, but anger can also become a heavy burden that overwhelms Hulk. Chapter 69. Although he has the Sharingan, Rog rarely uses the Sharingan's Genjutsu in battle. Compared with Genjutsu, he prefers and is better at ninjutsu. The last time he used the Sharingan's Genjutsu was when he fought with Mr. Film. That was the first time he used the Genjutsu ability of Sharingan in battle. Although it was the first time, the Genjutsu ability of Sharingan still gave him a big surprise. Through the hypnotic eye ability of the Sharingan, Kuroto pulled Mr. Film into a fictitious memory, and then without Mr. Film noticing, Kuroto easily dealt with this enemy who can release negative energy. Although Mr. Film is also a superhuman, he can't be compared with Hulk at all. So Rog doesn't intend to use the same tactics on Hulk. Facing a typical berserker like Hulk, and a berserker who is more powerful the more angry he is, he decided to do the opposite, making Hulk, who was already furious, even angrier. After seeing Rog's blood-red eyes, the manic Hulk suddenly calmed down, as if he saw something magical enough to calm him down completely. However, this calmness only lasted for a second or two before it shattered. Hulk became agitated once again, and a strange blood-like red color appeared in his pair of green eyes. How can you make a person feel real despair? The method is very simple: give him hope first, and when he thinks he is about to achieve his hope, break his hope with your own hands, and let him fall directly from the edge of achieving hope to the bottom of despair. In this way, what he feels is the ultimate despair of falling directly from heaven to hell. The same method can also make a person feel extreme anger. What Rog is doing now is such a thing. While hypnotizing Hulk, he tried to see if he could make Hulk calm down directly so that Banner could regain control of his body. But unfortunately, Hulk is extremely resistant to returning to calmness. So Rog had to follow the original plan, making Hulk, who was already angry, even angrier. Hulk became angrier and Hulk became stronger. Taking advantage of the fact that Hulk had yet to launch an attack, Rog took the opportunity to leave a flying thunder god technique on him. When he was done, Hulk erupted like a volcano. Hulk let out a roar that didn't sound human at all. Then, like an angry gorilla, he waved his arms angrily. At this time, Hulk had completely lost his mind. Now he was only left with pure attack instinct and boundless anger that filled his mind. Even General Ross and the others, who were more than 100 meters away, reacted immediately after seeing Hulk's appearance. Hulk had gone completely crazy. Without the slightest hesitation, after seeing that Hulk had completely lost his mind, General Ross decisively gave the order to retreat. Anyway, the SHIELD agent with the strange mask was still there. Even if they retreated, it wouldn't have any impact. Like General Ross, the captain of the SHIELD Special Forces issued the order to retreat immediately after seeing Hulk's complete madness. Why are you retreating? When General Ross and the captain of the SHIELD Special Forces saw that the other side was retreating quickly, they had the same doubts in their minds. Until now, they still thought that Rog was the other side's man. After leaving the Flying Thor technique on Hulk, Rog used several body flicker techniques in a row, instantly opening the distance between him and Hulk. At this time, Hulk was completely dominated by anger, but his instincts kept reminding him that Rog was the most dangerous target that needed to be solved. Almost at the moment when Rog's figure became clear, Hulk rushed towards him at a speed far greater than before. If Hulk's previous sprint speed was the speed of an F1 car, then his current sprint speed was the extreme flight speed of an F-22 Raptor. Although Hulk showed a speed far greater than before, when he came in front of Rog once again disappeared from his sight. Flying Thor technique. What Rog used this time was not the body flicker technique but the Flying Thor. The reason why he left the Flying Thor technique on Hulk just now was for this moment. Through the Flying Thor he teleported behind Hulk. And the position of the teleportation was just above the back of Hulk's head. At the moment of completing the teleportation, a Rasengan about 1 meter in diameter appeared in his right hand. Without any hesitation, he hit the Rasengan on his right hand directly on Hulk's head. Boom. A loud sound like the explosion of an intercontinental missile rang out, and at the same time, a wave of air like a 12th-level hurricane was set off. The retreating U.S. military and SHIELD agents were attracted by the loud sound and couldn't help but look back at the place where the sound came from. Then they saw an incredible scene. Hulk, who was like a god of war in front of them, was knocked down to the ground heavily. With the location where Hulk fell as the center, the ground dozens of meters around him had huge cracks like a spider web. After knocking down Hulk, Rog came to Hulk again, and then took Hulk away in front of everyone's eyes. Although General Ross and the others had witnessed this scene with their own eyes, they had no idea what was going on. They only saw Rog put his right hand on Hulk's body, and then the two of them disappeared strangely out of thin air, as if they had never appeared. After knocking down Hulk for a short time, Rog took Hulk to Death Valley, which was like an alien environment. Although Death Valley is a famous geographical attraction in the United States, there are not many people here all year round. Even those tourists who come here to visit at most only visit the edge of Death Valley. The people who really go deep into the center of Death Valley, in addition to the researchers who study the environment of Death Valley, are only those who need to stay away from human society. This is the second time Rog has come here. The last time he came here was more than 2 years ago. At that time he accepted a $10,000 commission and spent nearly a week traveling through several states before he finally found the target he was looking for. The target was a middle-aged man who looked very simple and honest, but this man was a serial killer who had killed more than a dozen young women. The person who commissioned him was the parents of one of the victims. Roger didn't know where the couple had heard the news, but they had specially come to his office. Then they had entrusted him with $10,000 as the commission fee. The commission passed the judgment, so he accepted the commission. After killing the perverted murderer who had been committing crimes for nearly 10 years, he brought the pervert's head back to the couple as agreed. Chapter 70. When he came here again, Rog couldn't help but recall the scene at that time. At that time he was still a young boy. After lying on the ground for a few seconds, Hulk, who was knocked down by the Rasengan, shook his head and stood up in a daze. Until now Hulk didn't know what had just happened. In order to knock down Hulk, who had an incredible physique, Rog deliberately used the Otama Rasengan that he hadn't fully mastered. Although the Otama Rasengan looks only a little bigger than the Rasengan, the difficulty of controlling it rises sharply, and the requirements for the amount of chakra are also several times higher. Hulk was the first person to bear the power of the Otama Rasengan, and the only one at present. Hulk, who stood up again, shook his head first, and after getting rid of the feeling of dizziness, he looked at the surrounding environment. Looking at the completely unfamiliar environment, Hulk, who was dominated by anger, showed a puzzled expression. Then he saw Rog wearing a white three-tomo mask. The moment he saw Rog, Hulk's heart suddenly surged with uncontrollable boundless anger. Without any hesitation, Hulk immediately attacked Rog. When Hulk's right fist, which was bigger than an ordinary person's head, came towards him, Rog's right hand once again condensed the Rasengan. Unlike the Otama Rasengan just now, he condensed an ordinary Rasengan, but it was about the same size as Hulk's fist. Boom. When Hulk's right fist collided with the Rasengan in Rog's hand, a violent storm of chakra suddenly broke out. Hulk's right fist broke the Rasengan in Rog's hand, but his right fist also completely bore the full power of the Rasengan. An unimaginably powerful force instantly enveloped Hulk's entire right arm, constantly twisting and tearing his right arm. If it was an ordinary person, the moment they were enveloped by this force, the whole person would be twisted and torn out of human shape. Even if it was a steel body made of steel, it would be impossible to compete with this powerful force. But Hulk relied on his strong body to resist the power of the Rasengan. At the moment when Hulk smashed the Rasengan, Rog decisively used the body flicker technique to open up the distance between himself and Hulk while avoiding being shrouded by the chakra storm. Although Hulk bore the full power of the Rasengan, it didn't cause too much damage to him. It just made his right arm feel a pain that he had never experienced before. Rog was not surprised by this result. If Hulk had been defeated so easily, General Ross would have captured Hulk long ago. Looking at Hulk's 3 to 4 meter tall giant body, Rog's mind suddenly came up with a crazy idea. To defeat Hulk, Rasengan alone is definitely not enough. But if what hit Hulk was not a Rasengan, but an Otama Rasengan, then the result would be very different. After mastering Rasengan, Rog had the intention to learn Otama Rasengan by himself, and he studied it silently for a while. This is the reason why he was able to use Otama Rasengan before. However, he didn't completely master Otama Rasengan, and whether he could use it smoothly depended on his luck at the time. After thinking about it for a second or two, he decisively made a decision. He wanted to complete the study of Otama Rasengan here. Using the sense of oppression brought by Hulk's attack at any time, he forced himself to exert more potential. Although this decision seemed rash, he decided to be rash for once. In the next few hours in the center of Death Valley, the sound of missiles exploding rang out one after another. Rog couldn't remember how many Rasengan he had smashed on Hulk. The only thing he could be sure of now was that the amount of chakra in his body was less than 1/10. Under the pressure of being hit by Hulk at any time, he burst out with even greater potential as he wished. It only took a few hours for him to complete the study of Otama Rasengan and thoroughly master this enhanced version of Rasengan. Although Rog was now only a few meters away from Hulk, Hulk had no intention of attacking him at all. To be precise, he had no physical strength to launch an attack. At this time, Hulk was lying on the ground powerlessly, and he was thinking about 3 very philosophical questions with a low IQ. Where am I? Where am I? What am I doing? He was attacked by Rog's Otama Rasengan over and over again. He wanted to resist, but he couldn't hit, and he wanted to escape, but he couldn't get rid of it. For Hulk, the past few hours were the only miserable time in his current life. Hulk's consciousness began to calm down gradually, and Banner's consciousness began to take over. In the next minute or so, Rog witnessed the process of Hulk changing from a green giant back to an ordinary person. When Hulk changed back to Banner, he subconsciously glanced at Banner's pants. The quality of these pants is really good. Banner, who had just regained consciousness, hadn't figured out what had happened. Rog came behind him like a ghost, and then hit him in the neck with a karate chop. Banner lost consciousness again, and his whole body fell forward uncontrollably. After knocking out Banner, Rog grabbed Banner's shoulder, and then the Flying Thunder God left Death Valley. When they left, Death Valley regained its calm. Rog did not take Banner back to Culver University, but took the unconscious Banner directly back to his office. After returning to the office, he first called Natasha, and then took off the 3-tomo mask, black magic cloud robe, Kusanagi sword, and thunder fan. It didn't take long for Natasha to come to the office with a team of heavily armed SHIELD special forces. Natasha was not surprised that Rog was still at Culver University a few hours ago and now he has returned to New York. Although SHIELD doesn't know how many extraordinary abilities Rog has mastered, they are still relatively clear about the ones that Rog often uses. Instant movement, fire breathing, creation of clones that are exactly the same as the original body and have the ability to attack. These are the 4 abilities that SHIELD currently knows about Rog. According to the commission, you can take him away now. Natasha didn't ask Rog how he did it. She directly arranged for the special forces to take away the unconscious Banner, and at the same time, put handcuffs and ankles on Banner. Rog wanted to remind them, but he finally gave up on this plan. SHIELD is very clear about Banner's abilities, otherwise they wouldn't have entrusted him. When Natasha and the others left the office, Rog opened the attribute panel that only he could see. It's not much different from the last time he opened it, but there are 3 more ninjutsu, Summoning Jutsu, Chidori Blade, and Otama Rasengan. The number of unconsumed ninja coins has also become 124. According to his previous plan, he had planned to save 300 or 500 ninja coins directly, and then exchange Manjikyu Sharingan or Hashirama's would release ninjutsu from the system. However, after this commission he decided to adjust his exchange plan. Manjikyu Sharingan and Hashirama's would release are indeed very strong, but for him now, these are not the most urgent existences. Chapter 71. While fighting with Hulk, Rog couldn't help but sigh at how strong Hulk's body was, and at the same time he felt that his body was too weak. Compared to ordinary people, although he has a strong body, he can be considered to have an inhuman body. But compared to those monsters with super physiques, he was as weak as a baby. If it wasn't for his speed, he wouldn't be able to fight with Hulk, who was a tank and a fighter. Even if he can't have a super physique like Hulk or Thor, he still needs to improve his physique to keep up with his speed and chakra. In the system's exchange page there were many ways to improve his physique. But there weren't many that fit his fighting style and he could afford it. Sage Body. It inherited the vitality and energy of Hagoromo of the 6 paths. If he had enough ninja coins, Rog wouldn't mind directly exchanging for the purest Sage Body. But right now he only has 124 ninja coins, so he can only exchange for the shrunken version of the Sage Body. The Senju Clan's Sage Body. The Senju Clan's Sage Body only costs 100 ninja coins. On the Senju Clan's Sage Body, there was another Sage Body that wasn't as shrunken, and that was Hashirama's Sage Body. Hashirama's Sage Body costs 500 ninja coins, which is the same price as his would release. However, even Hashirama's Sage Body isn't a complete Sage Body. On his Sage Body, there are 2 upgraded versions of the Azura Sage Body and the 6-path Sage Body. The Senju Clan's Sage Body, Hashirama's Sage Body, Azura's Sage Body, and 6-path Sage Body. This is the complete upgrade route of the Senju Clan's Sage Body. Next to the upgrade route of the Senju Clan's Sage Body, there is also the upgrade route of the Uzumaki Clan's Sage Body. The only difference is that the first 2 parts of the Uzumaki Clan's Sage Body were changed to the Uzumaki Clan's Sage Body and Uzumaki Naruto's Sage Body. Just as Rog was about to exchange for the Senju Clan's Sage Body, he found an exchange icon next to the Senju Clan's Sage Body. Immortal Body Transplant Technique. Rog was very sure that when he browsed through the Thousand Hands Clan's Immortal Body, he definitely did not see this new icon. After clicking on the icon and looking at the specific introduction, he couldn't help but frown. This is a hidden item that will not appear in the host's current state under normal circumstances. Until the host is interested in the corresponding exchange target and has enough ninja coins, these hidden exchange items will appear. The Immortal Body Transplantation Technique was based on the principle of the cell transplantation technology invented by Orochimaru. It was a brand new transplantation method that had been upgraded and optimized. After the transplant is successful, you will obtain the target's complete physique and partial Kekkei Genkai ninjutsu. If the transplant fails, he will permanently lose half of his chakra capacity. And now, Rog's immortal body transplant technique is related to Senju Hashirama immortal body transplant technique. The exchange price of this transplant technique is 100 ninja coins, the same price as the exchange price of the Senju clan's sage body. But unlike the 100% success rate of the Senju clan, Hashirama's method only had a 20% success rate. In other words, if the transplant is successful, it is equivalent to using 100 ninja coins to exchange for 500 ninja coins worth of Hashirama immortal body. If the transplant fails, he will waste 100 ninja coins for nothing. For this problem, Rog made a decision without thinking. Without any hesitation, he directly spent 100 ninja coins to exchange for Hashirama's immortal body transplant technique. 100 ninja coins is a huge sum of money for him right now. But he still decisively made a choice and chose to gamble on the 20% success rate. If the transplant fails, he will treat it as if Hulk was beaten for nothing. As for permanently losing half of his chakra capacity, this is a trivial matter. When his unspent ninja coins returned to 24, a string of jutsu that he couldn't understand appeared on the back of his right hand. Before he could take a closer look, the jutsu written in black ink on the back of his right hand emitted a burst of dark green light. Why is it green again? Rog just ridiculed in his heart, and the jutsu on the back of his right hand began to grow wildly. In just a blink of an eye, these jutsu with dark green light spread all over his body. At the same time, he found that the chakra in his body was wildly flowing uncontrollably. Are all the jutsu transplants so wild now? Just as such a thought appeared in his mind, he lost control of his body, and his whole person came to a strange green planet as if his soul was out of his body. To be precise, he came to the outer space of a strange green planet. At this time, what appeared in front of him was a green planet completely covered by trees. He didn't know how big this green planet was, nor did he know what this green planet meant. The only thing he could be sure of was that this green planet was like a meteor that happened to fly by, and it attracted him in an extremely overbearing and irresistible way. The scene changed, and he instantly came to a lush forest that was unreasonable. The trees in the forest suddenly came to life, and the large and small branches stretched towards him like the tentacles of a deep-sea octopus. In just a blink of an eye, he was firmly bound by these branches, and then he completely lost consciousness. Rog felt that he had a very, very long dream. When he opened his eyes again, he found that he was still sitting on the chair in the office. There was no dark green jutsu on the back of his right hand, and there was nothing strange around him, as if everything just now was really just a dream. He immediately opened the system's attribute page, and then he was stunned. Host, Rog Profession, Ninja Talent, Muji Casting 7 Attribute Chakra Kekkei Genkai, 3 Tomo Sharingan Mokutan Physique, Senju Body, Senju Hashirama, Ninjutsu, Substitution Body Flicker, Fixed, Shadow Clone, Flying Thor, Chakra Perception, Summoning, Rasengan Odama Rasengan Mokutan, Wood Dragon Technique, Wood Human Technique Lightning Release, Chidori, Chidori Sharp Spear, Chidori Flow, Chidori Blade Fire Release, Grand Fire Annihilation Water Release, Water Iron Cannon Genjutsu, Dark. Walk Physical Arts, Monstrous Strength Chakra Amount, 99 Cal Psychic Item, Punisher Frank, Edo Tensei, Unspent Ninja Coins, 24 Looking at the newly added Senju Body, Mokutan, Wood Dragon Technique, Wood Human Technique and Monstrous Strength on the attribute page, Rog began to wonder if he had been targeted by the goddess of luck recently. Chapter 72. Rog was very satisfied with the results of the immortal body transplant this time. Even if the system made adjustments to the Kekkei Genkai, would release, and those ninjutsu, it won't have much impact on his good mood at this time. As long as the sage body is in his hand, everything else is easy. After calming down a little, he began to carefully browse the system's introduction to those ninjutsu and would release Kekkei Genkai. Kekkei Genkai would release, the wood release ninjutsu developed by the first Hokage Senju Hashirama. It is a mixture of 2 chakra properties. The ultimate source of power comes from the chakra tree. Wood release can use chakra as the source of life to accelerate or control the growth of plants, thereby attacking, defending, and controlling. The introduction of wood release is similar to Rog's impression, and there are no particularly obvious changes. As for wood human jutsu and wood dragon jutsu, they are similar to what he remembered. The only difference is that Wood Dragon Jutsu absorbs the opponent's chakra ability to absorb the opponent's physical strength and energy. Rog is already used to this adjustment of Wood Dragon Jutsu. After all, before Wood Dragon Jutsu, there are two examples of chakra perception in Sharingan. After reading the introduction of Wood Human Jutsu and Wood Dragon Jutsu, he turned his attention to Taijutsu Monster Strength. Taijutsu Monster Strength, through precise control of chakra, concentrates chakra on a certain part of the body or the whole body, and then explodes in an instant, causing strong physical damage. Whether from the introduction or the final result, Taijutsu Monster Strength is very similar to the way he used chakra to strengthen a certain part of the body or the strength of the whole body. Rog even suspected that he may have mastered Taijutsu Monster Strength long ago, but the system has not added this taijutsu to the property panel. Of course, it is more likely that the way he used it before was too rough, so rough that the system was not willing to admit it. In order to confirm this, he compared his own way with the way the system gave him and then came to a conclusion that hurt his self-esteem. The system has been unwilling to admit that the way he used chakra before was indeed because the way he used it was too rough. Compared with the way the system recognized, the way he used chakra before can only be regarded as just touching the threshold. The reason why he can smoothly use this rough way to temporarily improve his strength is purely because his chakra amount is not bad. To give a simple example, if he uses his own method to enhance, it will consume 1 calorie of chakra, but if he uses the method recognized by the system, then he only needs to consume 0.1 calorie of chakra to achieve the same level of enhancement. Therefore, having more chakra is still very beneficial. If he can't use of chakra, then he can make up. Although it is shameful, but sometimes it is very useful. After reading the introduction of Strange Strength, Rog opened the introduction of Immortal Body. Body, Seng Hashirama. The special physique that inherited the vitality and body energy of the Six-Paths Sage and transplanted to Seng Hashirama is a physique that can be continuously strengthened through hard practice. The system's explanation for the body of the sage was only 1 sentence, and it did not contain much information. However, even if the system did not give any explanation, Rog is not unfamiliar with the body of the sage. Unlike the eyes of the sage such as the Sharingan and the Rinnegan, the body of the sage is not the kind of existence that can be obtained immediately after possessing it. The body of the sage gives the possessor the potential to become stronger continuously, but not immediate strength. So when he saw that his chakra amount was still at 99 calories, he was not surprised. Even Azura, the second generation of immortals who were born with the body of an immortal, had to go through a long period of hard cultivation before he could obtain the same strength as his brother, Indra. In the early stage, the body of the sage is far inferior to the eyes of the sage. But in the later stage, the body of the sage can not only exert the power of the eyes of the sage, but it can even surpass the eyes of the sage. Although the body of the sage transplanted from Hashirama did not immediately increase Rog's chakra amount, nor did it make his body full of vitality like Hashirama, he is still full of confidence in the body of the sage. Isn't it just hard practice? It's not a big deal. What he is afraid of is not that he needs to practice hard to obtain power, but that he is limited by his talent. The feeling of being trapped by talent, no matter how much effort you put in, you still can't make any progress, is the most despairing. The existence of the body of the sage can help him break through the limits of his talent, allowing him to smoothly break through to the level that originally did not belong to him. What he wants is a future with greater possibilities, not a few ninjutsu and chakra in front of him. After closing the property panel, he left the office with the Flying Thunder God, ready to personally experience his newly acquired Mokutan ninjutsu and taijutsu. In the following week, Rog spent most of his time in the forest outside the suburbs of New York except for commuting to his home and the office every day. He went to the office to see if there was a suitable commission to accept. He went to the forest outside the suburbs of New York to familiarize himself with the newly acquired Wood Dragon Jutsu and Wood Man Jutsu. Although the two Mokutan ninjutsu, Wood Dragon and Wood Man Jutsu, were obtained by transplanting Hashirama's body, the effect he displayed was completely different from that of Hashirama himself. The appearance of the Wood Dragon and Wood Man is no different, but the size is much smaller, and the power has a fundamental difference. The first generation Wood release was used to conquer the world, and the Yamato Wood release was used to make the world green. Rog felt that his Mokutan ninjutsu seemed to have signs of making the world green. The progress of Mokutan ninjutsu was not very optimistic, but after a continuous week of hard practice, his chakra amount finally changed again. Chakra amount, 102 calories. Under the circumstances of hard practice every day, his chakra amount increased by 3 calories in a week. 3 calories a week, 12 calories a month, 156 calories a year. This kind of improvement is exciting to think about. Just as he was fantasizing about the beautiful scene of the future, Dr. Ross, who he had met once, suddenly came to the office. I want to make a commission. This is the commission reward. After entering Rog's office, Dr. Ross directly put a suitcase on the desk and said with a serious face, "Let's talk about the commission first." Looking at Dr. Ross, Rog answered casually. He was not surprised that Dr. Ross could find him here. When they met last time, although he did not report his identity, he did not disguise himself, so it was normal that Dr. Ross could find him here. Chapter 73. I know that Banner is now being held in S.H.I.E.L.D., and I know that you are the one who handed Banner to S.H.I.E.L.D. But I still hope you can rescue Banner. He is a good person. He just suffered an experimental accident. He shouldn't be a test subject of some privileged institutions. Obviously, Dr. Ross had done a detailed investigation before coming here. As for who her source of information was, Rog didn't have to guess. There was no one else who would tell this news to Dr. Ross except for General Ross, who has been responsible for arresting Banner. Although the relationship between Dr. Ross and General Ross is not very good, they are still father and daughter. Since you know that Banner was handed over to S.H.I.E.L.D. by me, you should understand that dealing with the previous employer is a very bad thing for people in my line of work. Although it is not the first time he has dealt with his previous employer, he still has to have the proper attitude. And I don't think your reward can impress me. The suitcase that Dr. Ross brought could only hold a little more than $1 million at most. For other private detectives, this was definitely a generous reward. But for Rog, this reward is not only not generous, but it also seriously destroys his current market. His previous employer, S.H.I.E.L.D., directly paid him $100 million, and it was the kind that paid him in full in advance. That's all I can take out now. If you need more, I can only pay you in installments in the future. Although Dr. Ross' income is not bad, it does not mean that she can take out a huge sum of money in the millions at any time. No, you misunderstood me. I'm not short of money now. What I want is... Before Rog could finish speaking, Dr. Ross, who was sitting in front of him, suddenly hugged herself with both hands and shook her head excitedly. No, I can't do this. How can you make such a condition? What condition did I make? I haven't even finished speaking yet. Looking at Dr. Ross' fierce refusal at this time, Rog suddenly thought of something. Does she think? His expression instantly became extremely unsightly. I'm a good young man who doesn't even have a girlfriend. How can I make such a misunderstanding? What went wrong in the middle? After thinking about it for a while, he remembered a job that paid quite well, but he never accepted it. It was a commission from the rich woman who had become famous because of the death of several husbands. When he thought of this, his expression became even more unsightly. After realizing that his reputation had started to develop in a bad direction, he decided to strictly limit the types of commissions he would accept in the future. Put an end to those inexplicable requests appearing again. Write down the details of the commission and the remuneration in US dollars that you can afford. After that, Roger took out the last scroll that he had yet to use and solemnly placed it in front of Dr. Ross. Looking at Rog's serious face, Dr. Ross also realized that his actions just now were inappropriate. Dr. Ross didn't say anything. He picked up the pen and started writing on the scroll. The commission reward was $5 million USD. Rog pointed to the suitcase next to him and asked with some confusion, "Didn't you just say that you could only take out so much money? What's written here is different from what you said." "I can only take out so much now, but as long as you can save Banner, I will definitely give you $5 million USD. Dr. Ross said firmly and then silently added, "Banner has enough money to pay. It's reasonable to use Banner's money to save Banner. It's also reasonable for Rog, who entrusted Banner to S.H.I.E.L.D., to go to S.H.I.E.L.D. to save Banner. Reasonable my ass. This isn't something a normal person would do, alright? But fortunately, Rog is not a normal person, and Banner is not a normal person, so it's normal for them to do something abnormal." After putting away the commission scroll, Rog glanced at the commission page of the system. The commission page was blank and no new commission appeared. Sigh, another ninja coin was wasted. Just when Rog was about to refuse Dr. Ross, a commission that was not the same as the client's request appeared on the commission page. Dr. Ross's commission was to save Banner from S.H.I.E.L.D. But the commission given by the system was to stop Hulk from destroying New York and send Hulk to Canada. This is the first time that Rog has seen the system give a different commission content, and with his understanding of the system, since the name used by the system is Hulk, it means that the commission will be judged to be completed only if he sends Hulk to Canada. It's not difficult to understand that Hulk needs to stop him from destroying New York. After all, Hulk has such strength. But the request to send Hulk to Canada seems a bit abnormal. It's Hulk who is sent to Canada, not Banner, which means that he can't wait for Hulk to change back to Banner as he did before. In addition, he is also curious about what Canada did wrong that the system would ask him to send Hulk there. To some extent, Hulk is equivalent to a human-shaped self-propelled nuclear bomb that can explode continuously. Sending such a guy to Canada, you can imagine what will happen in Canada. Moreover, this kind of commission is not the same as the client's request, and how to judge the reward in the end is also a new problem. Although Rog's mind is full of doubts, it is clear that the system has no intention of explaining. I will take your mission, but there is a small problem, that is, you may need to be in Canada to see Banner. Since the system has given him a mission, and the commission reward given is not low, Rog will naturally not refuse the commission. Not to mention just sending Hulk to Canada, even if he sends Abomination, as long as the system can give him the corresponding commission and reward, he will do it. Okay. Although this result is different from what she imagined, in any case Banner was rescued from S.H.I.E.L.D., so Dr. Ross finally agreed. But what she didn't think of was that although S.H.I.E.L.D. seems to be a special agency in the United States, in fact, S.H.I.E.L.D. has corresponding bases in most of the world. Canada is obviously one of them. You can now tell me where you know how Banner is being held. Dr. Ross may not know where Banner is being held by S.H.I.E.L.D., but his father, General Ross, will definitely know. He is in New York now, in the S.H.I.E.L.D. base in Queens. Chapter 74. That's all I know. As for where S.H.I.E.L.D.'s base is in Queens, I don't know. Speaking of this, Dr. Ross's tone became a little lonely. General Ross was not unwilling to tell Dr. Ross the specific address, but because he did not know where S.H.I.E.L.D.'s base was. S.H.I.E.L.D. was willing to tell General Ross that Banner was in the Queens base, which is already giving the Air Force Vice Admiral a lot of face. It doesn't matter, it's enough to know that Banner is still in New York. During the previous battle, Rog had already left a Flying Thor technique on Hulk. So as long as he has Banner's approximate location, he can directly sense the Flying Thor technique in the area, and then directly teleport through the Flying Thor. When you get to Canada, call the number above and then I will take Banner there. After that, Rog gave Dr. Ross a Flying Thor made of vibranium and gave her a business card with his phone number. Although there is no requirement for Banner to meet Dr. Ross in the system's commission, Rog still intends to meet Dr. Ross's wish a little and let her meet Banner. When Dr. Ross left the office with the Thor kunai and business card, he began to sense all the Flying Thor techniques in Queens. After distinguishing the one belonging to Banner from dozens of Flying Thor techniques, Rog used Psychic Technique to summon the Kusanagi sword, round fan, mask, cloud robe and other items in the scroll. Although he couldn't hide his true identity regardless of whether he changed his clothes or not, he still put on his battle attire ceremoniously. It doesn't matter whether he can hide his identity or not. What matters is that it will look more impressive. After doing all this, his figure disappeared from the office. When he appeared again, he was already next to Banner. To be precise, he was next to Banner, who was lying on the operating table. This was a room that looked similar to an operating room. Other than the fact that the person lying on the operating table wasn't a patient and that there were 4 fully armed agents standing at the door, it wasn't much different from a real operating room. Rog's sudden appearance immediately attracted everyone's attention. The 4 fully armed agents immediately raised their weapons and aimed at him. However, before the 4 agents could fire, they saw a pair of blood-red eyes. Then they stood rooted to the ground as if they had lost their souls. Sharingan Genjutsu. After the battle with Hulk, Rog began to slowly like the feeling of using Sharingan Genjutsu. It could be activated just by looking at each other, and it had many uses. More importantly, the onlookers had no idea what was going on. In the eyes of the onlookers, Rog only turned his head and glanced at the 4 agents. Then the agents stood there stupidly, not moving at all. The effect of this scene was perfect. After dealing with the 4 S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, Rog came to Banner's side and cut off the restraints that bound Banner with kunai. At the same time, he pulled out the needle on Banner's right arm. Although S.H.I.E.L.D. had no way to subdue the Berserk Hulk, they used a very clever way to make Hulk have no chance to appear at all. As long as Banner's heartbeat is maintained at a low frequency, Hulk's appearance can be effectively prevented. Although Hulk is terrifying, Banner is easy to deal with. However, S.H.I.E.L.D. still has a little conscience. Instead of dissecting Banner directly, they continued to collect and analyze his blood composition and carried out a detailed physical data collection on him. Just as Rog was about to leave with Banner, who had not completely woken up, A big black man wearing a black trench coat and an eye patch over his left eye rushed over. Beside the black man was Natasha, who had a head of wine-red curly hair. This big black man is none other than S.H.I.E.L.D.'s director Nick Fury. His hero title is Motherf***Kerr. Wait. Don't go yet, we can discuss it. After receiving the report from his agents, Nick Fury rushed over with Natasha and tried to communicate with Rog. However, Rog ignored Nick Fury and grabbed Banner's shoulder directly and disappeared in front of them in an instant. It seems that I spoke too slowly, he didn't hear me clearly. Nick Fury said calmly, silently giving himself a way out of this embarrassing situation. No, he heard me clearly. Natasha added in a low voice. Instead of taking Banner back to his office, Rog took him to the forest where he had practiced would release before. At this time, Banner was still in a weak state due to the influence of drugs, and there was no way for him to stand up like a normal person. After using chakra perception to perceive Banner's current physical state, Rog ignored Banner and left him alone in this rare forest while he left with the Flying Thunder God. Dozens of minutes later, he returned here with a brand new Chevrolet black pickup, a pile of food and clothes. After dozens of minutes of rest, the influence of drugs in Banner's body gradually disappeared and his physical strength began to recover a little. Don't be in a hurry to transform, it was your girlfriend, Dr. Ross, who asked me to save you. If you still want to see her, then get in the car. When Rog appeared again, Banner's first reaction was to transform into Hulk. He didn't forget that it was the person in front of him who handed him over to S.H.I.E.L.D. After hearing Rog's words, Banner thought seriously for dozens of seconds, and then went straight to the black pickup and was ready to open the door and get in. The co-pilot seat is mine, and your seat is next to it. After that, Rog opened the door directly and sat in the co-pilot's seat. Although he didn't know what Rog was going to do, Banner came to the driver's seat and drove away from the forest. Where are we going? Banner, who was holding the steering wheel, asked. Just drive in the direction of Canada, you can drive however you want. Rog replied casually. In fact, Rog doesn't need to prepare a special vehicle for this. He can stay somewhere with Banner and wait for Dr. Ross to arrive in Canada and then directly teleport there with the Flying Thunder God. Although this is the most labor-saving way, he doesn't intend to do it. It's just a waste to bring Banner to Canada, or rather it's a waste of Hulk in his body. Before taking Banner out of the operating room, he had already figured out how to use Hulk in Banner's body. Chapter 75. Betty, what did he offer you that could move you to come to S.H.I.E.L.D. to save me? After a few minutes of silence, Dr. Banner, who was driving, finally spoke. $5 million, but she only paid a deposit of $1 million, and she said you would pay the remaining $4 million. As soon as Rog finished speaking, Dr. Banner slammed on the brakes and looked at Rog in disbelief. Just because of $5 million, you dared to save me from S.H.I.E.L.D.? Although Dr. Banner is not the kind of rich man who is worth hundreds of millions, he knows very well that $5 million is not a very generous reward for this kind of commission. Not to mention the process of saving people, the problem is that the act of saving people is undoubtedly a slap in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s face. Banner doesn't think that Rog will offend S.H.I.E.L.D. for a mere $5 million. $5 million is already a lot. Many people will not be able to earn this amount even if they work hard for a lifetime. Rog answered Banner casually. As Banner guessed, if the reward was only $5 million, he would not be interested in taking this task. The reason why he took this task was that the system gave him a pretty good reward. Content: stop Hulk from destroying New York and send him to Canada. Commission status: incomplete. Commission reward: 50 ninja coins. Although the reward of ninja coins is only half of the previous commission, Rog feels that the price is quite good considering the difficulty of this commission. Stopping Hulk from destroying New York is not a particularly difficult task in itself. As long as Banner does not transform into Hulk in New York, or directly takes the transformed Hulk out of New York with the Flying Thor, the first half of the commission will be completed. As for the second half of the content, it is quite easy. The system does not specify when to send Hulk, nor does it specify a specific place to send him. So as long as Hulk comes out before crossing the border of Canada, and then throws him over, the latter part will be completed. Since you mentioned this issue, I just want to ask, how are you going to pay the remaining $4 million? After hearing Rog's inquiry, Banner didn't even turn his head and said directly, I have an account at JP Morgan Bank. As long as you have the account and password, you can withdraw the money. After that, Banner directly told Rog the account number and password and then added, let me remind you, if you withdraw the money, General Ross and S.H.I.E.L.D. will definitely target you. You have to solve this problem yourself. It's okay as long as there are $4 million in the account. Whether it's General Ross or SHIELD, it's not a very serious matter to offend them. After driving for a few hours, Roger suddenly said, "Stop here. There's food in the container. After we're done eating, we'll go to the forest next door." Banner didn't know what Roger wanted to do, but he still pulled over as Roger told him to, and then opened the cargo box in the back. After opening the cargo box at the back, Banner was a little stunned. The cargo box was filled with all kinds of high-calorie food, and next to the food there were several sets of loose sportswear. "Remember to eat more." Rog's voice came from the car. Half an hour later, Rog and Banner parked the car outside the forest and the two walked towards the depths of the forest. Until now, Banner still didn't know what Rog wanted to do, but he silently followed behind Rog. After coming to the depths of the forest, Rog finally spoke. "Let Hulk come out." Banner suspected that he had heard wrong and asked with a puzzled look on his face, "You just said, let Hulk come out." "Yes, let Hulk come out. What the hell does this guy want to do?" Although Banner didn't know what Rog wanted to do, he felt that this was an opportunity for himself. Become Hulk, beat Rog and then regain his freedom. Plans quickly flashed through Banner's mind. "In that case, don't blame me." Not long after, under Banner's deliberate indulgence, a trace of green appeared on his skin, and his whole person began to grow bigger and stronger at a speed visible to the naked eye. When the 3 or 4 meter tall Hulk appeared again, Hulk first let out an angry roar like a beast, and then stared at Rog with his eyes as if he wanted to eat him alive. However, before Hulk launched an attack, he saw Rog not far away suddenly clasped his fingers and formed a hand seal that he didn't know what to call. With the talent of Muji casting, Rog doesn't need to make any hand seals to perform ninjutsu. But in order to look better, he silently formed a sea hand seal. Mokutan, a wood dragon technique. At the moment when Rog finished forming the sea hand seal, a wooden dragon more than 10 meters long, with a long hook nose and thorns all over its body instantly rushed out of the ground and attacked Hulk directly. Facing the wooden dragon, Hulk had no intention of retreating, but instead took the initiative to run towards the wooden dragon. It's just a piece of wood, it can be broken easily. In just a blink of an eye, Hulk collided with the wooden dragon. Just as Hulk was about to tear the somewhat unsightly wooden dragon, the wooden dragon suddenly wrapped around him tightly. "A dragon made of wood can't stop me." Hulk began to exert his strength, trying to break free from the wooden dragon's bondage. But he soon noticed that something was wrong. There's something wrong with this piece of wood. With Hulk's strength, not to mention wood, even if he is entangled by iron chains, he can still break free. But at this time, not only did he not break free from the wooden dragon that entangled him, but he also found that his stamina was rapidly disappearing at a terrifying speed. Although Hulk's wisdom is not as good as Banner, he is definitely not stupid. The toughness of the wooden dragon far exceeded Hulk's expectations. What's more troublesome is that the longer the entanglement, the lower his stamina, and the less likely it is to break free. After a minute or two, Hulk changed back to Banner in extreme unwillingness. When Hulk disappeared, Rog also lifted his control of the wood dragon technique. Without the continuous input of chakra, this wooden dragon with a long hook nose and thorns all over its body also turned back to ordinary wood, losing all its peculiarities. Banner climbed out from under the wooden dragon that had turned into a wooden sculpture, and his whole person looked like he had just finished a marathon as he lay on the ground weakly. "After eating, change into new clothes and then we'll get out of here." Banner now knows why Rog came here with a set of clothes and a bunch of things. Tens of minutes later, Banner, who returned to the car, started the pickup truck and drove towards Canada without saying a word. Chapter 76. When Rog and Banner drove towards Canada in a pickup truck, General Ross also received a piece of information about his daughter. After leaving Rog's office, Dr. Ross went directly to the airport and bought a ticket to Canada. Not long after Dr. Ross bought the ticket, General Ross received the relevant report. General Ross told Dr. Ross about Banner being held in S.H.I.E.L.D. In addition to the fact that Dr. Ross is his daughter, another reason is that he also wants Rog to get Banner out of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s base. General Ross can't go to S.H.I.E.L.D. to grab people, but he won't give up on Banner either. Banner is the only and successful test subject at present, so in any case he will not give Banner to S.H.I.E.L.D. Although General Ross doesn't know what Rog will do, he is sure that this guy, who is nominally a private detective, definitely has a way to bring Banner out of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s base. The scene at Culver University left an indelible impression on him and strengthened his determination to capture Banner. Only with a humanoid weapon like Hulk can he fight against those unstable people who have mastered extraordinary abilities. General Bronsky is here. Just after General Ross had ordered the intelligence personnel outside to continue to monitor Dr. Ross, Bronsky, wearing a military uniform, came to his office under the guidance of his assistant. After bringing Bronsky to the office, the assistant tactfully left the office and closed the door. You also saw the scene at Culver University. What do you think? General Ross asked directly. I saw two dangerous people who were out of control and had great power, and I was worried about whether the military had the ability to eliminate these two dangerous people. As a witness at the time, Bronsky gave a very official answer. How old are you this year? 45 years old? General Ross suddenly changed the subject and asked. 39 years old. Bronsky told his true age. You get old quickly, don't you? Yes. Then don't go out on missions anymore with your record, you can be a colonel. General Ross suggested. No, I am a warrior. I will always be a warrior. Bronsky rejected General Ross's proposal without even thinking about it. He then continued, if I had the experience I have now 10 years ago, I would never have fought with myself. Looking at the determination in Bronsky's eyes, General Ross hesitated for a few seconds before saying, I can make you stronger. After hearing General Ross's answer, Bronsky's eyes were filled with excitement. During World War II, the Weapons Research and Development Department conducted a new experiment, the Biotechnology Strength Enhancement Experiment, hoping to create a super soldier. On the basis of the previous experiment, I restarted the related experiment. Banner was involved in the early stages of the work, but he didn't involve the use of weapons at all. He thought he was studying a way to resist radiation. I never told him the truth of the experiment. But he was so confident that he actually carried out human experiments privately. In the end, there was an accident, or rather, a lucky hit. We have developed a type of serum, a serum with great potential. I will arrange for you to be injected with this serum. After the injection, you will lead a team to arrest a man named Mr. Lon. We suspect that he is the one who helped Banner escape. Since Banner returned to the car, he hasn't said a word to Rog and just silently drove in the direction of Canada. Rog didn't take Banner's silence to heart. He is now thinking about how to maximize the effect of the Wood Dragon technique. When he was fighting against Hulk just now, he didn't use the Wood Dragon technique to the limit. The Wood Dragon he can currently make can reach a maximum length of more than 30 meters. The reason why the length of the Wood Dragon was controlled to more than 10 meters just now was that Hulk was too small. Hulk is only more than 3 meters tall and there is no need to waste chakra to make a larger Wood Dragon. A length of more than 10 meters is completely enough. When dealing with an enemy like Hulk, the Wood Dragon technique can play a good role, but this is only the first time. After all, as long as he has experienced it once, Hulk won't foolishly take the initiative to run to the Wood Dragon. The Wood Dragon can absorb the physical strength and energy of the target, but the physical strength and energy absorbed by the Wood Dragon will not be fed back to the caster. So Rog's original plan to use Hulk as a mobile power bank has failed before it even started. In addition, the Wood Dragon's movement speed is not fast, it can only be regarded as okay. If the target is fast enough, it can still be avoided. In general, the Wood Dragon technique is more suitable as a control skill than an attack skill. After eating something casually in the car for dinner, Rog took Hulk to a grassland with few people. Let's exercise after dinner. Let Hulk come out. Although Banner was very reluctant, the situation was stronger than him, so he still transformed into Hulk. After coming out again, Hulk didn't rush towards Rog recklessly like last time. Instead, he looked at Rog vigilantly and after confirming that there was no strange Wood Dragon around, he rushed towards Rog. Rog made a hand seal again, but this time he didn't make a sea hand seal but a way hand seal. No matter what kind of hand seal he makes, it won't affect him from casting the ninjutsu he wants to cast. Wood release, Wood Dragon technique. A long hook-nosed Wood Dragon more than 10 meters long emerged from the ground and rushed directly to Hulk, who was running wildly. After the last experience, Hulk didn't intend to fight with the Wood Dragon again. His legs suddenly exerted force and his whole body jumped high, and then under the influence of gravity, he smashed towards Rog like a green meteorite. Looking at Hulk, who changed his tactics, Rog also stopped the Wood Dragon technique and made a hand seal again. Child hand seal. Seeing that the green meteorite-like Hulk was about to hit Rog, a woodman about the same size as him with a Wood Dragon coiled around his arm, like Arhet, emerged from the ground again. After emerging from the ground, this Wood Arhet didn't hesitate and rushed directly towards the falling Hulk. Boom. Hulk and Wood Arhat slammed into each other, and then both of them were bounced away and fell on both sides of Rog. After landing, Hulk and Wood Arhat ran wildly again. However, Hulk's goal was Rog and Wood Arhat's goal was Hulk. Just as Hulk was about to reach Rog, Wood Arhat came to him first and knocked him out. What followed was an intense brawl between the two of them, where their fists hit each other like wild beasts. Chapter 77. Hulk is a typical example of high attack, high defense, high HP, combining the characteristics of a fighter and a tank. In the face of such an enemy, meeting force with force is not a very wise choice. However, Rog didn't care about this, he just wanted to test the power of the wood puppet technique. For this reason he also deliberately controlled the size of Arhat, to avoid the situation of bullying the weak. The current wooden Arhat was only 3 meters tall, which was the same height as Hulk. If he exerts his full strength, the size of Arhat can directly reach about 10 meters. Although Hulk's physical attack power is very strong, but the wood Arhat in front of him is also not weak. In his peak state, Arhat can catch a 9-tailed beast Dama with one hand. Even in the face of the complete Susanoo, he is not at a disadvantage. However, this peak state of wood Arhat, Rog has no way to display it for the time being. Increasing the size of wood Arhat to about 10 meters is already the limit he can reach now. After controlling Wood Arhat and Hulk to fight for more than 10 minutes, Rog had the intention to end the fight. Under his control, Wood Arhat, who was just randomly punching, suddenly took a step back, avoiding Hulk's fist. Then, before Hulk realized what happened, Wood Arhat showed his exquisite and seasoned fighting skills. The wooden Arhat moved forward and directly arrived in front of Hulk. It launched a set of attacks that seemed simple but were extremely powerful. Chest, left shoulder, lower abdomen, right shoulder, head, straight punch, uppercut, left hook, elbow, rushing knee, moving left, piercing punch, hugging knee. Facing the sudden change in attack style and rhythm of Wood Arhat, Hulk was like a human sandbag, being constantly repelled by Wood Arhat. Boom. Hulk, who was unstable, had no time to make any defense, and was sent flying by Wood Arhat. After rolling a few times on the ground, Hulk stood up again. Then he saw Wood Arhat, who was clasping his fists and falling from the sky. Wood Arhat is not a real creature, and it is impossible for him to make movements that are too dexterous. But even so, the fighting skills he displayed still made Hulk realize the difference between a professional and an amateur. A few minutes later, the angry and unwilling Hulk once again changed back into Banner. When Hulk disappeared and Banner returned, Rog also stopped controlling Wood Arhat, turning the powerful Wood Arhat into a lifelike wood carving. The set of fighting style just now was not Rog's own original creation, but he learned it from Purple Potato. However, he was different from the Purple Potato spirit, who was able to knock Hulk unconscious in a few moves. He was still lacking in this aspect. After finishing the wood puppet, he checked the wood chakra and checked the wood carvings. The wood dragon jutsu and the wood puppet jutsu consumed almost 20 calories of his chakra. The wood dragon technique consumed a little less. After all, it only lasted for a short period of time, so it only used 2 or 3 cal of chakra. The biggest consumption was the wood puppet technique. Just making Wood Arhat had already used 2 or 3 cal of chakra, and maintaining Wood Arhat's attack used up more than 10 cal of chakra. This was just a 3-meter-tall Wood Arhat. If it was the Wood Arhat of Hashirama that was dozens of meters tall, then the amount of chakra required would be an extremely terrifying number. Rog now really understood why Hashirama needed chakra. Without a large amount of chakra, Wood Release would not be able to exert such an amazing effect. Wood Release is a Kekkei Genkai with a huge gap between the upper and lower limits. People who are good at it can even play with tailed beasts as pets. People who are not good at it can only do some greenery and study the 3 rooms and 2 halls technique. Change your clothes and go back to the car to sleep, we will set off tomorrow. Although Banner can't fully share Hulk's memories now from those scattered memory fragments, he already knows what kind of person Rog is. This man usually looks kind, but he is crazier than anyone else when it comes to fighting. Banner doesn't know if it's his own illusion, but he feels that Hulk in his body seems to be complaining about something as pitiful as a 1-ton green baby. When Banner changed into new clothes and returned to the car, Rog summoned a shadow clone and let the shadow clone watch Banner, lest he make any wrong decisions on impulse. Then he Flying Thunder God went straight home. The hard experience is left to the shadow clone, and the comfortable life is enjoyed by the original body. This is the correct use of the shadow clone. Bathing, eating, playing Berserker's Creed and then sleeping. Bronski, who received the serum injection, led a team of heavily armed Special Forces soldiers to raid Gabong College in New York under the arrangement of General Ross. They took away Dr. Samuel Stern, who was also known as Mr. Blue, and all the Banner blood samples in his laboratory. Looking at the Banner blood samples in one cabinet after another, a complicated look appeared on Bronsky's face. In a military base in New York. "You can't treat me like this, I'm a cell biologist, I want to contact my lawyer." After he was brought to the interrogation room, Dr. Samuel Stern kept repeating his rights. "He doesn't look like someone who helped Banner escape?" Bronsky, who was outside the interrogation room, looked at the anxious Dr. Stern through the one-sided glass and expressed his opinion. "There are a lot of Banner's blood samples in his laboratory. Whether he helped Banner escape or not, he is a person who needs to be locked up. And I have a hunch that he can help us," General Ross said casually, quickly deciding Dr. Stone's fate. As for Dr. Stern's identity as a cell biologist, he didn't care at all. After General Ross left, Bronsky stood alone in front of the one-sided glass and looked seriously at Dr. Stern, who was getting more and more uneasy inside. After standing motionless like a puppet for more than 10 minutes, Bronsky took a deep breath and went directly to the door of the interrogation room. "Sir, the general ordered that no one can enter without his permission," the soldier guarding the door said in a serious tone. Then the soldier felt a severe pain in his heart. Before he could scream, Bronsky covered his mouth in advance, and then watched the soldier's pupils begin to dilate. After doing all this, Bronsky opened the door, threw the soldier's body in, and went straight to Dr. Stern. "How can you kill your own people?" Chapter 78. Looking at the soldier's body that was still bleeding on the ground, Dr. Stone shouted loudly, and then he saw Bronsky pull out a pistol and point it at his head. "What the hell did I do to deserve such rough treatment from you?" Under the threat of the pistol, Dr. Stone's tone changed and became extremely gentle. "Not what you have done, but what you are about to do. I want to be as strong as Banner." Hearing this, Dr. Stone stood up from his chair and said slowly, "It seems that you have injected something. I want to be stronger than Banner. You should know how strong he is." "That's right. He is very strong, just like a god. I want to be like him too." "You want to make me as strong as him." Bronsky's breathing became heavy, and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. "I don't know what's in your body, but if you mix it up, you might become a monster." As soon as Dr. Stone finished speaking, Bronsky came in front of him, grabbed him, and then lifted him with one hand. "I didn't say I don't want to. I just need your consent." Without any hesitation, Dr. Stone instantly admitted defeat. Then, under Bronsky's lead, the two of them successfully came to the research room in the base. Banner's blood samples that were transported from Dr. Stern were stored here. Even Dr. Stern's computer and various instruments were packed and shipped together. "Let's begin." After lying on the operating bed, Bronsky said excitedly. A few minutes later, a serious experimental accident occurred in the laboratory. The stored Banner's blood samples were completely destroyed. Dr. Stone was also affected by the explosion and died on the spot, and Bronsky's whereabouts were unknown. When General Ross led the soldiers to the laboratory, all they saw was a messy laboratory that was ablaze with raging flames. At this moment, a soldier hurried to General Ross and reported a message in a low voice. "Bronsky." Early the next morning, after washing up and enjoying a hearty breakfast, Rog's Flying Thunder God returned directly to the pickup truck. Bang! The moment he returned, the shadow clone turned into a cloud of smoke and disappeared. Banner woke up in a daze and then saw Rog, who was full of energy and had changed his clothes. You have 10 minutes to eat breakfast." Banner sighed silently, then walked out of the car, went straight to the back of the car, opened the cargo box and picked a few foods at random. At this time he couldn't care less about personal hygiene. After quickly eating the food in his hand, Banner started the pickup again and drove in the direction of Canada. At noon, Rog used Flying Thunder God to return to the firm, arranged for Erica to go to the bank to withdraw Dr. Banner's money, and then took out the phone from the drawer that he had picked up purely by fate. There were a few missed calls on his phone, all from numbers he had never seen before, and one of them was a text message. The call was from Dr. Ross and the text was also from her. The content of the text message was also very simple. It was the address of a hotel in Ottawa, the capital of Canada. After reading the message, Rog called Dr. Ross back and asked her to take the Flying Thor to the forest or park on the outskirts of Ottawa, and then inform him. After doing all this, he returned to the pickup truck with the Flying Thunder God. Banner was already used to Rog's ability to disappear and reappear in an instant, and he didn't even turn his head to look at Rog. Stop here and let Hulk out. After 2 experiences, Banner already knew what Rog wanted to do, so he got out of the car without saying a word and then took off his coat. Under Banner's guidance, Hulk appeared again. When he saw Rog again, Hulk did not attack as before, but silently stepped back a few steps, looking at Rog with great vigilance. Don't worry, I won't hit you today. After saying that, Rog went to the container behind the car, filled a large travel bag with fruits and vacuum-packed meat that he had prepared in advance, and then took the Kusanagi sword to a grassland not far from the road and sat down directly. After casting a super small wood dragon technique and a super small fire extinguisher, he had a pile of burning bonfire. Then, under Hulk's gaze, he inserted the meat on the Kusanagi sword and began to barbecue it. The barbecue will take a while. If you are hungry, you can eat some fruit first. If you don't like fruit, you can also go to the container and get something else. After saying that, Rog didn't care about Hulk anymore, as if all his mind was on the barbecue in front of him. Hulk couldn't figure out what Rog was going to do, but he didn't feel the slightest malice from Rog, so he came to Rog and sat down. After a few minutes of barbecue, Rog handed the Kusanagi sword in his hand to Hulk and said calmly, "Take it, I'll go back and get something." A barbecue without seasoning is a barbecue without a soul. For this reason he returned to New York with the Flying Thunder God, and then bought a set of family barbecue tools, seasoning, and a large box of cold beer. When he returned here, Hulk was still holding the Kusanagi sword, and the barbecue on it had obvious charred traces. "Give it to me." After taking back the Kusanagi sword, Rog took off the charred barbecue on the Kusanagi sword, then replaced it with a special barbecue tool, and began his barbecue journey again. More than 10 minutes later, he handed a grilled beef to Hulk and opened a few bottles of cold beer. "Do you want a bottle?" After hesitating for a few seconds, Hulk took the beer from Rog's hand. Compared to Hulk's huge palm, the beer bottle was as small as a toy used for playing house. "Actually, compared to Banner, I prefer to deal with you." After saying that, Rog tasted the barbecue in his hand and the taste was not bad. Banner is too smart, and he is more like a scholar than a warrior. Of course you are not a warrior, but at least you are better than Banner. You know how to fight. Although Hulk is not as smart as Banner, he also has his own wisdom, so he fully understands what Rog is talking about. "Hulk, I don't like fighting. Hulk, I just don't want to get hurt. Hulk, you have to protect yourself." Looking at Rog in front of him, Hulk spoke out his thoughts, and at the same time he learned from Rog eating the barbecue in his hand and drinking the beer. If you want to protect yourself, you need to be strong enough. Your body contains a powerful force, but you don't know how to use it. If you want to become stronger, I can teach you. Chapter 79. A moving piece of wood? A blue ball? Hulk put down the barbecue in his hand and used his hand to make a picture of Rog's Otama Rasengan. Not those, it's more suitable for you or fighting skills. Even if Rog is willing to teach Hulk would release and Rasengan, Hulk can't learn it because Hulk doesn't have chakra at all. But even if Hulk has chakra, Rog won't teach him would release and Rasengan. Would release is a bloodline limit and he can't teach it if he wants to. Rasengan requires superb control of chakra, which is also not suitable for Hulk. If Hulk really has chakra, then the most suitable for him is the peak representative of Taijutsu, Hashimantanku. Hulk opening the Hashimantanku, this picture is very exciting. Taijutsu? Hulk doesn't know what Taijutsu is. Taijutsu is relying on the body to attack directly. Your usual attack style belongs to Taijutsu. Taijutsu is just a name. If you like, you can also call it close combat or fighting. After eating the last piece of barbecue on the barbecue, Rog stood up and came in front of Hulk. At this time, although Hulk is sitting on the ground, he is not much shorter than Rog. Just as he was about to stand up, Rog stopped him. "Just sit down. Because of time, I can't show you in person, but I can teach you in another way. Relax your mind, don't resist." As soon as his voice fell, Rog's eyes turned into 3 Tomo Sharingan. After seeing Rog's Sharingan, Hulk recalled some bad memories. "I will leave you with an illusionary teaching scene. This illusion will not harm you. When you have time or when Banner masters the body, you can take the time to learn it." Although Hulk doesn't understand what an illusion teaching scene is, he believes in his intuition at this time. He believes that Rog will not hurt him. With Hulk's active cooperation, Rog smoothly left an illusion teaching scene in his mind. In order to permanently engrave this illusion teaching scene in Hulk's memory, Rog used Sharingan's eye power to the limit for the first time. The scene created by Genjutsu is permanently engraved in the memory of the target. This is a trick he learned by accident when he recently studied Sharingan Genjutsu. He originally intended to develop a Genjutsu that could make the target permanently trapped in an illusion, but the result failed without suspense. When the power of the Sharingan he left in the target's body is exhausted, the target will get rid of the illusion and their consciousness will return to the real world. Although of the research and development of Genjutsu, of course. This little trick is a small skill is of Genjutsu of Genf of Genjutsu is of Genf of Genf his of him. For this reason he even gave this little technique, which could not be directly used in battle, a very simple name. Genjutsu. Because there is no need to maintain the illusion all the time, and there is no need to isolate the target's perception of the outside world, the consumption of this Genjutsu is not very large. The only thing to pay attention to is to constantly strengthen this illusion so that the target permanently remembers everything in the illusion, rather than being completely blurred after a period of time like a dream. The illusion that Rog created for Hulk at this time is a ring the size of a football field. There are two Hulks fighting in the ring. These two Hulks are proficient in boxing, Muay Thai, Sanda, Israeli fighting techniques, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and the SCARS fighting system of the United States Special Forces. They will not be tired or injured and they will fight over and over again. Simply put, this is like a real-life fighting teaching video created with Hulk as the standard. As for how much Hulk himself can learn from it, it depends on Hulk's own comprehension ability. After permanently engraving this illusion teaching scene in Hulk's memory, Rog's eyes also return to their normal appearance. You should learn this first. If there is a chance in the future, I will teach you a top body technique called Hashiman Tanku. Although he said this, Rog himself still does not know Hashiman Tanku. And more importantly, he does not know how to let Hulk have chakra. Although Hulk does not know what Hashiman Tanku is, his intuition tells him that it must be a very powerful body technique. In the following time, after Rog and Hulk finished all the remaining barbecue and fruit, Rog finally received a call from Dr. Ross. Get up, I will take you to a place. Not long after Hulk stood up, Rog locked onto the flying Thor kunai in Dr. Ross's hand, and then disappeared with Hulk. After hanging up the phone, Dr. Ross held the flying Thor kunai anxiously and constantly turned her head to look around. According to Rog's instructions, she took the flying Thor kunai and came to a forest on the outskirts of Ottawa. Just as she was thinking about when Rog and Banner would appear, she saw a green giant suddenly appear in front of her. Banner. Although Dr. Ross knew that Banner would turn into a green giant, after seeing Hulk with her own eyes, she couldn't help but take a few steps back. After bringing Hulk over, Rog did not look at Dr. Ross, but directly opened the system's commission page. Commission content. Stop Hulk from destroying New York and send him to Canada. Commission status. Completed. Commission reward, 50 ninja coins. Ninja coins not consumed, 74. After confirming that the system's commission had been completed, Rog turned to Hulk and said, "Let Banner come out. If you have time, practice your fighting skills well and the next time we meet, be stronger." Hulk turned his head and glanced at Rog. Without speaking, he silently returned his body to Banner. When Hulk turned back into Banner, Dr. Ross trotted over and hugged Banner, whose clothes had been completely torn. "The commission is over, you can return the kunai to me." Rog had just taken the flying Thor kunai from Dr. Ross when his cell phone rang. The caller was an unfamiliar number. After connecting, he heard Natasha's voice. "What the hell did you do? Why did another green giant appear? Wait, why are you in Canada? You were just..." Rog did not answer Natasha and hung up the phone directly. This is why he doesn't want to carry a mobile phone with him. These electronic products violate his privacy too much. Another green giant? Is it abomination? Glancing at Banner and Dr. Ross who were hugging each other tightly, Rog coughed softly and then said silently, "S.H.I.E.L.D. has located here. If you don't want to be caught again, I suggest you leave here immediately." Chapter 80. After reminding Banner and Dr. Ross, Rog left with the Flying Thunder God. As for what Banner and Dr. Ross will do in the future, it has nothing to do with him. And with Hulk around, they won't be in any danger. Rog first teleported back to the location of the pickup truck, took the Kusanagi sword and several other equipment, and then teleported back to the office in New York. As soon as he returned to the office, his cell phone rang again. General Ross has just informed us that the new green monster is not Hulk, but Bronsky, who has been injected with Banner's serum. He has applied for assistance from S.H.I.E.L.D. and the director has agreed to his request. Natasha didn't dwell on the fact that Rog had just hung up on her and quickly introduced the current situation. And then? What does this have to do with me? After hearing Rog's answer, Natasha suddenly froze for a moment, and then remembered that Rog was just a private detective who was commissioned, not an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. We can make a commission and the price will not be lower than Banner's. Not interested. After that, Rog hung up the phone again. Although the abomination has appeared, he has no interest in stopping the abomination. Even if S.H.I.E.L.D. is willing to pay for it, he is not interested. The trouble he caused, he has to solve it himself. After putting the Kusanagi sword and the round fan back into the psychic scroll, he turned on the TV in the office and then turned to the current affairs news channel. After transforming into the abomination, Bronsky originally planned to destroy the base's laboratory and then leave with Dr. Stone. But because of a small mistake, the laboratory exploded and Dr. Stone was killed on the spot. Bronsky felt a little sorry for Dr. Stone's tragic experience for a second or two, and then he used his own tyrannical strength to force his way out of the base. If Bronsky had left New York, General Ross wouldn't have been able to find him for a while. He didn't know if it was because of the influence of the serum or because of the absolute confidence brought by the sudden increase in strength, but instead of fleeing like Banner, Bronsky took the initiative to show up and unscrupulously vented the powerful strength he had just gained in downtown New York. Thus, General Ross's army fought against the abominations. Fighting the abominations in the densely populated city of New York was not a wise decision for General Ross. They couldn't use weapons of mass destruction in the city, nor could they mobilize troops on a large scale. With the warriors under his command alone, it was absolutely impossible to stop abomination, so General Ross quickly made a decision and applied to S.H.I.E.L.D. for assistance. Then S.H.I.E.L.D.'s request for help came to Rog. Due to his outstanding performance in Culver University, everyone regarded him as the best candidate for this mission. However, they did not expect that Rog would directly reject them. Reading the news report, Rog leisurely drank his frozen Coca-Cola and considered whether he should go to the VIP front row to see the abomination with his own eyes. But in the end he gave up on the idea and asked Erica to order takeout for him. 20 minutes later, the door of the firm was pushed open. But what came in was not the takeout guy that Rog imagined, but Natasha, who was wearing a S.H.I.E.L.D. uniform. And in Natasha's hand, she was holding the takeout that should have been delivered by the takeout guy. Bronsky now has power that is no weaker than Hulk. If he is allowed to continue like this, all of New York will be destroyed. After saying that, Natasha put the takeout in her hand in front of Rog and then continued, I know you don't have much affection for S.H.I.E.L.D., but the ordinary people outside need your help now. Okay, don't kidnap me with these so-called righteous acts. It's you who want to maintain world peace, but it's also you who are creating threats. If you hadn't been thinking about mastering the power that doesn't belong to you all day long, the monsters outside wouldn't have appeared. Rog didn't look at Natasha, but directly opened the takeout and took out the fried chicken legs and fries inside. Are you really not going to do anything? Natasha's tone was no longer as tough as before, but with a hint of pleading. It's not like you can't deal with Bronsky. Although he is now green and bigger, he is still a flesh and blood creature. He will be tired, hurt, and bleed you. Speaking of this, Rog suddenly thought of something and put down the fried chicken legs and the happy drink in his hand. A flesh and blood creature with its own consciousness. This guy should meet the standards of a psychic beast. In order to confirm his thoughts, he deliberately opened the system's introduction to the psychic blood contract scroll and carefully browsed through it. From Natasha's point of view, Rog seemed to be thinking about something seriously. She couldn't see the system page that appeared in front of Rog at all. It's not that I can't accept the commission, but I have a condition. After subduing this guy, he will belong to me. Okay? As long as you can subdue Bronsky, you can do whatever you want with Bronsky. S.H.I.E.L.D. and the military will never ask. After hearing Rog's words, Natasha agreed without thinking. After getting Natasha's guarantee, Rog exchanged a commission scroll from the system. When Professor Ross started the commission, he used up the last commission scroll. The reward is $100 million. You can write the rest yourself. Looking at the scroll that appeared out of thin air in Rog's hand, Natasha didn't have any surprise and directly took the scroll and wrote the content of the commission on it. Commission content: subdue Bronsky, abomination. Commission status: incomplete. Commission reward: 30 ninja coins. When Natasha finished writing the scroll, a new commission task appeared on the system's commission page. Compared with Hulk, the system's evaluation of abomination is obviously much lower, and the reward given is not even half of Hulk's. Abomination's ranking is not good. Of course, This may also be the system's judgment after re-evaluating his current strength. Although 30 ninja coins is not very rich, it is enough for him to make this trip. And what he really wants now is not ninja coins, but a psychic beast that belongs to him. After spending 20 ninja coins to learn the psychic technique, Rog always felt that he had lost money. But the appearance of Abomination gave him some hope of making up for his psychological loss. Psychic Beast, Abomination. Abomination's appearance is ugly, but since it has been classified as a psychic beast, its appearance is not very important. Chapter 81. I'll take this commission. You can inform S.H.I.E.L.D. to transfer the money now. After that, Rog left the office directly with the Flying Thunder God and came to the roof of a building near Abomination. Looking down from the top of the building, Abomination was like a rampaging beast, constantly destroying and attacking the streets. Although the soldiers around him were doing their best to attack Abomination, they did not cause any harm to Abomination. Instead, they made Abomination more violent. In other words, he was more excited. Looking at the pedestrians fleeing around him and the soldiers who were nervous but could not retreat, Abomination couldn't help laughing wildly. This perfect body? This powerful strength? This feeling of dominating everything? This is the future I really want. I'm God. Just as Abomination was fantasizing about the beautiful scene in the future, a liquid bullet hit his right face like lightning, leaving a visible scar on his face. Water release, water iron cannon technique. The one who launched the attack was none other than Rog, who had just jumped from the top of the building. At this time, Rog was only wearing a 3-tomo mask, but Abomination recognized him at a glance. It was this guy who defeated Hulk. After seeing that the attacker was Rog, Abomination did not launch an attack as casually as before, but looked at Rog seriously. This guy defeated Hulk. If I defeat him, it proves that I am stronger than Hulk. I am the strongest. After a series of illogical thoughts, the Abomination was driven by its instincts and sprinted towards Rog. In the eyes of others, Abomination was like a prehistoric behemoth running towards Rog. In Rog's eyes, Abomination was like a green pet dog running to its owner. 10 meters, 5 meters, 3 meters, 1 meter. When Abomination came to a meter in front of him, Rog threw the flying Thor kunai in his hand very casually. Although Abomination knows that Rog has the ability to teleport at this distance, he has absolute confidence that he can punch Rog into a meat patty. However, things did not develop as he had imagined. Rog disappeared. When his right fist was only a few centimeters away from Rog, Rog disappeared. After sensing Rog's disappearance, the Abomination immediately withdrew its fist and turned around. The scene of Rog hitting Hulk with Otama Rasengan left a very deep impression on Abomination. He didn't want to encounter Hulk's original scene. Abomination was not like Hulk, personally experiencing the power of Otama Rasengan because Rog did not use Otama Rasengan at all. After turning around, Abomination saw Rog in the flying Thor kunai that had just been thrown out by Rog. Before he could realize what had happened, the scene in front of him changed in an instant. What appeared in front of him was no longer the chaotic street, but a forest he had never seen before. Rog did not intend to solve Abomination in New York City, so he took Abomination directly to one of the forests where he practiced Mokutan. Throwing out the flying Thor kunai, Flying Thunder God second stage, leaving the flying Thor technique on Abomination, and then teleporting them here together. Before getting the immortal body, Rog's mastery of the flying Thor second stage was not particularly proficient, so he rarely used the flying Thor second stage in battle. But after getting the immortal body, he found that his mastery of the flying Thor second stage had an inexplicable improvement. Now as long as he wants, he can Flying Thunder God second stage anytime and anywhere, and he doesn't have to worry about the possibility of failure. After bringing Abomination to this unknown forest, Rog did not give him any time to think and directly used Mokutan, a wood dragon technique. A long hook-nosed wood dragon, more than 10 meters long, emerged from the ground and completely entangled Abomination with lightning speed. Like Hulk, Abomination didn't take this wood dragon to heart at first, but he soon found that his thoughts were a little too naive. Don't struggle unless I'm willing to let you out, you can't break free. After saying that, Rog also let the wood dragon bite Abomination hard. Although this will not cause any harm to Abomination, Rog still did it. For no reason, just to provoke Abomination. His physical strength was rapidly disappearing uncontrollably, and the wood dragon was getting tighter and tighter. It wasn't until this time that Abomination finally understood why S.H.I.E.L.D. had entrusted Rog to capture Hulk. In terms of results, Abomination's speculation was correct. But in terms of the actual situation, Hulk was a little worse than he is now. After all, what Hulk enjoyed at the beginning was not the wood dragon technique, but one Otama Rasengan after another. I won't talk nonsense with you. I have a contract scroll here. After signing it, you will be my psychic beast. When I need you, I will summon you to come out and fight for me. In return, you will have a certain amount of freedom and will not be hunted down by S.H.I.E.L.D. and General Ross. Rog took out the psychic blood contract scroll that the system gave him last time and opened the side that needed to be signed. Sign your head. Although Abomination didn't know what a psychic beast meant, he knew very well that this blood contract must not be signed. Signing it would be worse than death. Whether you like it or not, you have to sign it today. As soon as his voice fell, Rog increased his chakra output and accelerated the speed at which the wood dragon absorbed Abomination's physical strength. It didn't take long for Abomination, who was originally active as if injected with stimulants, to become extremely weak, and his whole body exuded a dying aura. When the wood dragon left Abomination, the nearly 4-meter-tall Abomination fell forward uncontrollably, making a low sound of falling to the ground. I'll ask you again, are you going to sign it or not? Even though the Abomination couldn't even stand up, he still expressed his opinion clearly. Although Rog can directly control Abomination to sign a contract with Sharingan, this is not a long-term solution after all, and he can't pay attention to Abomination's situation at all times. So he decided to solve all the problems at once. Wood release, wood puppet technique. A 5-meter-tall wood Arhat emerged from the ground, and then came in front of Abomination, and beat Abomination violently. Time passed little by little. After being deeply touched by Wood Arhat's iron fist of love, Abomination used the fingers of his right hand to touch some of the green blood flowing out of his body, and seriously wrote his name on the blood contract scroll. When Abomination finished writing his name, Rog opened his attribute panel and looked at the column of Psychic Beast. Psychic Beast, Punisher Frank, Edo Tensei State, Abomination Bronski. Chapter 82. Looking at the information displayed in the property panel, Rog nodded with satisfaction, and then said to the Abomination lying on the ground, "From now on, you are my summoned beast. Under normal circumstances I won't restrict your freedom, but you'd better control your temper and don't make trouble everywhere. In addition, when I summon you, you'd better listen to the arrangement. Someone will come to you later, and he is also my man. As for whether you two plan to live together or live separately, it's up to you. Finally, a warm reminder, don't try to escape. If I find out, I'll let you have a good talk with Makujin and let it correct your wrong ideas." After explaining, Rog returned to his office with the Flying Thunder God, and then informed Punisher to go to the forest to pick up the Abomination. The matter with the Abomination has come to an end for the time being. As long as S.H.I.E.L.D. sends the reward, the commission will be completely completed. He now has a total of 73 ninja coins unspent. If he adds the 30 ninja coins entrusted to him, his unspent ninja coins has once again returned to the 3-digit level. With the Sage Body and the 2 accompanying would release ninjutsu, his need for ninjutsu has further decreased. Whether it is attack or control, he now has enough means, and for the time being, there is no lack of firepower or control skills. After thinking about it, he opened the exchange page of the system and focused his attention on the basic ninjutsu on the first page of the exchange page. Transformation Jutsu. One of the 3 ninjutsu taught by the ninja school, the basic of the basic ninjutsu. Ninjas who don't know transformation jutsu are not even qualified to graduate from the ninja school. But it is such a basic ninjutsu that Rog has never exchanged. Clone jutsu he only exchanged for substitute jutsu, and he also studied substitute jutsu to the extent of instinct. He will definitely not exchange for clone jutsu. He already has shadow clone jutsu, and exchanging for clone jutsu is purely a waste of ninja coins. Compared with clone jutsu, transformation jutsu is undoubtedly much more practical, and the future improvement may be greater. When the shape-shifting technique was unleashed to its limits, it could even cause the chakra primogenitor to reveal a flaw in an intense battle. Just as Rog was thinking about whether he should exchange for the shape-shifting technique, he received a transfer message on his phone. It was a transfer of $100 million. At the same time when the mobile phone received the transfer information, the commission in the system became completed, and the 30 ninja coins were transferred to his account. Transformation jutsu only costs 30 ninja coins, so he finally exchanged for this ninjutsu that may play a great role in the future. Transformation technique. By condensing chakra to change one's appearance, one would be able to transform into someone else. Ordinary methods would not be able to see through it. Other than turning into other people, they could also turn into animals or objects. Whether it was transforming into a human, an animal, or an object, it was only a change in appearance, not a change in essence. This meant that even if he transformed into Hulk's appearance, he would not have the same physique and strength as Hulk. For special agents or spies, the transformation technique could be considered a rare divine skill. But for Rog, who likes to fight head-on, the biggest meaning of the transformation technique is to confuse the enemy. After confirming the chakra operation of the shapeshifting technique, he began his first shapeshifting technique. Bang! When the white smoke dissipated, the person sitting on the chair became Natasha, who Rog had just seen. Just by looking at the appearance, there is no problem. But this jutsu is a bit too weak. The effect of the jutsu will be lifted if I endure a little bit of a violent attack. It is enough to scare people. As for the rest, Rog stopped the messy thoughts in his mind and lifted the effect of the shapeshifting technique. Time flew and a year passed in the blink of an eye. During this year, Rog continued to receive some commissions from time to time as usual to earn some ninja coins for himself. Most of the time he spent on the study and mastering of the 2 Kekkei Genkai Sharingan and would release, making these 2 Kekkei Genkai a part of himself. After the end of the day's practice, Rog opened his property panel and looked at his current status. Host, Rog profession, ninja talent, no seal technique, 7 attribute chakra Kekkei Genkai, 3 Tomo Sharingan would release physique. Senju body, Senju Hashirama, ninjutsu, substitution jutsu, body flicker jutsu, hold jutsu, shadow clone jutsu, flying thunder god, level 2, chakra perception, Rasengan, self-taught, Odama Rasengan, self-taught, summoning, transformation wood release, wood dragon technique, wood human technique, lightning release, Chidori sharp spear, Chidori flow fire, release, grand fire annihilation water release, water iron cannon genjutsu, dark walk Sharingan genjutsu, false memory taijutsu, strange strength chakra amount, one tail summon beast, Punisher Frank, Edo Tensei, abomination Bronski unconsumed ninja coins, 256 ninjutsu hasn't changed much, it's still the same ninjutsu from a year ago. In terms of ninja coins, he didn't accept many commissions this year and only earned more than 100 ninja coins. Rog originally intended to let Punisher and Abomination accept the commission together, but he found that the system perfectly avoided this loophole. If he didn't accept and execute the commission himself, the system wouldn't pass it at all. Even if he accepted the commission and arranged Punisher and Abomination to do it, the system would cancel the commission that has passed the judgment and deduct 5 ninja coins from him. After losing a few ninja coins, he decisively dispelled the idea of being lazy and honestly performed the commission himself. Among them, the biggest change is the amount of chakra he has. According to his judgment, with the Senju body, he should be able to get more than 100 calories of chakra after 1 year of practice. But he found that he somewhat underestimated the Senju body from Hashirama. In the past year, his chakra amount has successfully increased from 102 calories to 300 calories. Then, the system changed the measurement unit of chakra amount to tail. As for the current chakra amount, it's equivalent to Ichibi Shikaku's chakra amount, or Kyubi Kurama's chakra amount or Jubi's one tail. He can't judge for the time being. The increase in chakra amount also brought another benefit. The power of the ninjutsu he can use now is far beyond the power of a year ago. In other words, he was now even stronger than before. Chapter 83. Although he now has 256 ninja coins, Rog doesn't have any ninjutsu or items that he particularly wants to exchange for. Even the commission scrolls that he usually consumes the fastest, he still has 5 of them, so he won't have any need to exchange for them in a short time. Just as he was considering whether to continue to expand his business scope, he received a call from Frank the Punisher. Since turning Abomination into his own psychic beast, Rog has formed a team with the 2 of them and asked them to collect some more peculiar metals outside. At the same time, he asked them to occasionally act as messengers of justice and maintain social security in the United States. Simply put, he asked them to find trouble with the local gangs from time to time, to maintain justice and generate income for the firm. Because of their hard work, the firm's operating income has improved significantly, and even attracted the attention of the IRS. If it weren't for S.H.I.E.L.D's silent suppression of this matter, Rog would have been invited to tea by the tax bureau early in the morning. Of course, in return, Rog finally had an informal meeting with S.H.I.E.L.D's director, Nick Fury, and reached a consensus on certain issues. My lord, we found the hammer that fell from the sky that you were talking about. As you expected, S.H.I.E.L.D's people found the hammer and built a simple research base around the hammer. The hammer the Punisher was talking about was Thor's Mjolnir. Although Rog knew that Thor's hammer would appear in New Mexico, he didn't know when Thor's hammer would fall. So half a year ago he took the simplest and most crude approach. That is, he sent both Punisher and Abomination to New Mexico and asked them to keep an eye on the situation there. Waiting really paid off. After hanging up the call from Punisher, Rog began to sense the flying Thor technique on Punisher. Thor, we're finally going to meet. I hope you can bring me some unexpected surprises. When Punisher ended the call with Rog, a strong man with long blonde hair suddenly broke into the research base, quickly knocked down the guards in the base, and quickly approached Thor's hammer in the middle of the research base. This guy is good. Obviously he has received professional combat training. The guards inside can't stop him. The speaker is Abomination Bronski, who is nearly 4 meters tall. At this time, Abomination has no previous fierce and arrogant attitude. After signing a psychic contract with Rog, Abomination escaped several times, but the results of the escape were not good. The best escape result was that he even saw the border of Canada. At that time, Abomination was trained by the combination of Wood Arhet and Wood Dragon for a whole month, and then he completely gave up. This is S.H.I.E.L.D.'s business. We don't have to do anything, we have to make sure that the hammer is not taken away. The Punisher also noticed Thor, who was rampaging in the research base, but he didn't take Thor seriously. Although Thor showed superb combat skills in Punisher's view, he is at the same level as S.H.I.E.L.D.'s elite agents. Without his divine power, Thor really has nothing particularly noteworthy. Not only does he not have the power of Thor, but he doesn't even have the super strength and physique that an Asgard should have. Just as Thor invaded the research base, several lightning bolts suddenly flashed in the dark night sky, followed by heavy rain. One person go to the commanding heights, bring a weapon. At this time, the person in charge of this research base is none other than Agent Coulson. Although Thor's invasion caught S.H.I.E.L.D. by surprise, S.H.I.E.L.D. is a professional agent agency after all. The entire base instantly entered a state of alert, and more agents were chasing Thor. What's the situation? After issuing the order, Coulson came to the command room and asked. The hammer emitted a huge amount of electromagnetic waves. The system can't record it. The equipment can barely maintain it. The interference from this thing is too great. After listening to the report, Coulson took out the walkie-talkie and said, Barton, talk. Sir, do you want me to stop him? Or do you want to send more people to kill him? Barton stood in the basket of a crane and said calmly while pulling the composite bow in his hand. Wait for my order. Coulson did not issue an order to attack and walked quickly in Thor's current direction. After knocking down all the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents on the road, Thor finally came to the center of the research base, only a few meters away from Thor's hammer. Looking at Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, who has been with him for more than 1,000 years, a gratified smile appeared on Thor's face. As long as I can lift Thor's hammer again, I can regain the power of Thor. I am Asgard's Thor. Just when Thor thought he was about to end the test given to him by Odin, a strong black man more than 2 meters tall suddenly appeared in front of him and then gave him a heavy punch, knocking him to the ground. You're quite big. Thor, who was knocked down, quickly stood up and said, but I've knocked down bigger ones. As soon as his voice fell, Thor's right fist hit the big black man in the face and the two instantly fought. While Thor and the big black man were fighting inextricably, Rog also teleported to the front of the two Punishers. Sir, are we going to join the battle too? Abomination immediately asked after seeing Rog appear. Although he had been severely trained by Arhet and Wood Dragon for a month, Abomination was still the same Abomination who was eager to fight. But before the battle, he would ask for Rog's permission. No, I'll take care of things here. You can continue with your previous entertainment activities. The entertainment that Rog mentioned was the work of the Punishers and Abominations to generate income for the firm. For them, this is a job that will make both of them happy. Regarding Rog's arrangement, the Punishers and Abominations had no objection and left immediately. Looking at Thor, who was hugging and rolling with the big black man in the mud, Rog silently used chakra to perceive Thor's state. This seal is ridiculously strong. Thor doesn't seem to have much problem on the surface, but in his body, there is an incredibly powerful seal. This seal not only completely sealed the power of Thor in Thor's body, but it also suppressed his Asgard physique to a very low level. That feeling is like suppressing a heavyweight boxing champion with a height of more than 2 meters to the state of a newborn baby. Just when Rog was shocked by the seal in Thor's body, Thor knocked the big black man to the ground with a beautiful flying kick, and then kicked the big black man hard on the head. After doing all this, Thor, covered in mud, came to Thor's hammer Mjolnir and grabbed the handle of Thor's hammer with a smile on his face. Then there was no then. Tani used both hands and all the strength of his body, but Thor's hammer remained motionless and showed no signs of moving. After trying for dozens of seconds, Tani looked incredulously at the night sky shining with lightning and roared at the sky with incomparable grief and indignation. Whether it was Coulson, Barton, or other S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, they all silently watched Thor kneeling on Thor's hammer at this time. Okay, the show is over. Ground units, assault. Looking at Thor, who seemed to have lost his soul, Coulson raised the walkie-talkie and issued new instructions. At this moment, a flying Thor kunai shining with silver-white light flew towards Thor's hammer like lightning. When the flying Thor kunai hit Thor's hammer, Rog appeared in an instant and held the flying Thor kunai. Is this Thor's hammer? Rog ignored Thor next to him and ignored Coulson, Barton, and others who were condescending, and directly held the handle of Thor's hammer, and then his right hand suddenly exerted force. Gotcha. Thor's hammer, which had not moved since it fell, suddenly moved. Chapter 84. Once again it was time for the necessary part of every novel that was published. First of all, I would like to thank all the readers for their support. If it wasn't for all of you, this novel wouldn't have been promoted all the way to the top. It wouldn't have been able to complete the recommendation process and be published on the front page. Thank you to all the readers for your recommendation tickets, collections, comments, and gifts. I've read all the chapters and reviews you left behind. Thank you for all your suggestions. Then I would like to thank Mr. Long Guang. Even though the recommendation results weren't ideal, he still arranged for a follow-up recommendation. This gave the novel more exposure and allowed Apprentice to complete his dream of being published on the front page. Therefore, I would like to sincerely thank Mr. Lan Guang. Thank you for your support and support. Finally, it was time to act pitiful. Readers who had been reading the novel should know that Apprentice wasn't acting pitiful. He was really pitiful. Every day he would work overtime until midnight and could barely write a chapter when he got home. Therefore, he still owed all the readers 15 chapters. These 15 chapters would be repaid on the second day after the novel was published. He would finish repaying them within 10 days. Because there weren't many updates, many readers chose to read the novel first. Apprentice could understand this. After all, Apprentice did the same when he was reading the novel. However, the data on the first day of publication, which is the first subscription, has a very, very important and decisive effect on the subsequent development of a novel. Therefore, the Apprentice is here to plead with the readers. When the novel is published tomorrow, can you subscribe a chapter first? Just one chapter would be enough. Really, just one chapter would be enough. The chapters after that could be taken care of slowly. However, for the first VIP chapter tomorrow, Apprentice hopes that all the readers would subscribe to it. This was very, very important. Please. Due to his hand speed and his stockpile of manuscripts, the Apprentice was unable to release 10 or 100 chapters like other authors. However, he would release at least 5 chapters tomorrow, which was a 10,000-word update. He hoped that the readers would be a little happier after reading it. Currently, the book's collection data was 244. Normally, the subscription ratio would be around 10:1. However, Apprentice wasn't that ambitious. Because there were some parts that weren't written particularly well, Apprentice would be satisfied if the subscription ratio was around 15:1. As long as the average subscription exceeded 1,600, every 100 subscriptions would add a chapter. If the average subscription exceeded 2,000, the daily minimum would increase from 2 to 3 chapters. If the average order could exceed 3,000, which meant that it was a premium product, the minimum daily order would be at least 4 chapters. Although this didn't seem possible, one had to have some dreams. Perhaps this dream would come true like Infinite Tsukuyomi. Next was the reward system. For the time being, every division master would be rewarded with 1 chapter, which was 10,000 rewards plus 1 chapter. Finally, I'll sell my misery to the readers. The 24-hour subscription result was very, very, very important. Even the readers who were reading books hoped that they would be able to subscribe tomorrow. This was very, very, very important. Please everyone. Tomorrow at noon I'll officially update the VIP chapter. Whether it's a hit or a flop, it all depends on the readers. Chapter 85. Thor's hammer didn't move much and the sound it made when it moved was very weak. But even so, the movement of Thor's hammer still shocked everyone present. This hammer can actually be picked up. Coulson, Barton, and other S.H.I.E.L.D. agents all showed an incredulous look. After discovering Thor's hammer, They tried various methods to try to move Thor's hammer. But no matter what method they used, Thor's hammer didn't show any signs of movement, as if it was connected to the whole earth. Coulson, Barton, and others just felt incredible, but as the former owner of Thor's hammer, Thor was completely shocked at this time. No one knows Thor's hammer better than him. It is precisely because of this that he was shocked by the scene in front of him. In Thor's memory, except for himself and Odin, no one can lift Thor's hammer. I have really been abandoned, even Thor's hammer is not willing to recognize me. Thor's hammer would rather be lifted by a stranger than returned to my hands? I really am. Rog didn't know what Thor was thinking in his mind, and he was also in a state of confusion. What's going on? Didn't they say that there was Odin's spell on Thor's hammer? Didn't they say that only people with a pure heart and justice can lift Thor's hammer? Didn't they say that as long as you can lift Thor's hammer, you can have Thor's power? Is there a bug in Odin's spell? Before Rog could figure out what was going on, Thor's hammer in his hand suddenly became extremely heavy, and then it fell directly to the ground with a bang. At the moment when Thor's hammer fell to the ground, a blue lightning bolt as thick as a bucket fell from the sky and directly struck Rog. Boom! The lightning directly hit the Thor's hammer on the ground, and the raging electric current created a tornado-like airflow, blowing the people around it away. When the lightning was about to hit him, Rog left the place with the flying thunder god and returned to the small hill outside the base. At this time he was very glad that he had left a Thor kunai here before he went to the research base. The speed of that bolt of lightning far exceeded his expectations. If he hadn't left behind the flying Thor kunai in advance, he would have been the first person to be struck by lightning while raising the Thor's hammer. Although Rog was far away from Thor's hammer, the lightning did not seem to intend to let him go. The night sky, which was already filled with thunder and lightning, was suddenly enveloped by bolts of lightning. The entire night sky became as bright as day. Without giving Rog any time to think, the lightning in the night sky seemed to have a life of its own, attacking him one after another. Boom 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 boom, he was inexplicably struck by so many lightning bolts and each one was thicker than the last. Rog did not hesitate and made a decision in an instant. Flying Thor. Because there were no other flying Thor spells around the research base, Rog could not repeatedly jump around the lightning bolts. The coordinates he was teleported to this time was the Punisher, who had already left this place. At this time, the Punisher and the Abomination were heading to a nearby town, and were discussing which city to go to next to generate income. When Rog reappeared they were slightly stunned. Then they understood why Rog appeared. The next second after Rog appeared, several bolts of lightning suddenly fell from the night sky and hit the Punisher and the Abomination in front of Rog. As for Rog himself, he returned to the small hill outside the research base through the flying Thor. Most of the lightning bolts struck the small hill, making the originally normal-looking hill look like it had been bombarded by missiles. As for the remaining lightning bolts, they struck the Punisher and the Abomination. One of them had a body of filth, and the other had thick skin, so Rog was not particularly worried about the condition of the two of them. After confirming that there were no more lightning bolts in the night sky, he pulled out the flying Thor kunai from the ground, and then slowly walked towards the research base. Don't touch things that don't belong to you, or you'll be struck by lightning. Although Rog had not yet figured out what happened just now, he had already made up his mind to not touch the Thor's hammer for no reason. And in the short period of time when he mentioned the Thor's hammer, he felt as if he was being watched by a great existence. But he was not sure if this gaze came from Odin, the father of the gods, or from an existence he did not know for the time being. Anyway, no matter what, Mjolnir was currently on his list of things that he should never touch unless absolutely necessary. After coming to the research base again, Rog enjoyed the warm hospitality of S.H.I.E.L.D. More than a dozen heavily armed guards raised their weapons and aimed at his head. Don't do anything stupid, just inform your supervisor Coulson directly. Although these S.H.I.E.L.D. guards did not know the true identity of Rog, they silently reported the situation after hearing the name of Coulson. It didn't take long for Coulson to walk out of the base and come directly to Rog. What are you doing here? Coulson looked at Rog with a little vigilance. Although S.H.I.E.L.D. is now in a friendly cooperation stage with Rog, he knows very well that this so-called cooperation may be suspended at any time. I heard that you found a very strange hammer, so I came to take a look. By the way, if you don't mind, I want to take the guy inside. Coulson didn't know the true identity of Thor at all. They just thought of Thor as a secret agent of a certain country. As for why this secret agent took the risk of robbing the hammer, they haven't figured it out yet. At this time, Thor is being held in a temporary interrogation room. He is covered with mud and is in a complex state of loss and shock. Loss is because he found that he had lost the recognition of Thor's hammer and lost the hope of becoming Thor again and returning to Asgard. Shock is because he found that Thor's hammer can be lifted by a Midgardian, that is, an Earthling, which is something that even Asgard people can't do. If Rog hadn't been attacked by lightning, Thor would have even thought that Thor's hammer had found a new master for himself. Just when Thor was full of doubts, Loki in a handsome suit suddenly appeared in front of him. "Loki, why are you here?" Seeing his brother suddenly appear in front of him, a look of hope appeared on Thor's face. "I came to see you," Loki said in a low tone. "What's the matter? Is something wrong with Jotunheim? Let me explain to my father." Thor said in a hurry. He had never been so eager to see his father. But Loki's next words immediately made him fall into the abyss of despair. "Father is dead." Chapter 86. Loki's words were like a bolt from the blue, striking Saul's body, causing him to be completely stunned. Father is dead? Odin, the father of all gods, is dead? Then uncontrollable sadness and annoyance welled up in his heart. "What?" Thor asked in an extremely sad tone. Banishing you, coupled with the threat of war, made him unable to bear it any longer. "Don't blame yourself, I know you love him, I want to tell him, but he won't listen." Listening to Loki's words, Thor couldn't help but shed tears from the corners of his eyes. Knowing that you can no longer lift Thor's hammer, but still putting Thor's hammer beside you, this is too cruel. The burden of the throne now falls on me. "Then can I go home?" Thor asked in a pleading tone that he had never used before. "The condition of the armistice agreement is that you must be banished." "Yes, but we can find a way. Mother also forbids you to go back." Although they grew up in the same family, it has to be said that in terms of IQ, Thor is suppressed by Loki. But this is also where Loki's talent lies. After all, people with too low IQ can't become the god of trickery. "See you never, brother." "I'm sorry." "No, I'm sorry. Thank you for coming." After completely fooling Thor, Loki left the interrogation room with satisfaction and came to the vicinity of Thor's hammer. After a friendly exchange, Coulson finally agreed to let Rog take Thor away. Just as they were heading to the interrogation room, Rog saw Loki trying to lift Thor's hammer. "That guy is trying to lift Thor's hammer, aren't you going to do anything about it?" At this time, Loki was in a state of magic invisibility, and the surrounding shield staff did not notice his existence at all. "Which guy?" Coulson followed Rog's gaze, but he saw nothing. "It's that guy in a suit with black hair." Although Rog had never seen Loki before, he was 100% sure that the person who was trying to lift Thor's hammer was Loki. "Forget it, there's no point in telling you." After saying that, Rog went straight to the aisle near Thor's hammer and said to Loki below, "You're Thor's brother, right? I think it's better if you don't lift Mjolnir. You'll be struck by lightning if you do." Loki didn't expect that someone would be able to see through his invisibility spell. What surprised him even more was that Rog actually knew about his identity in Thor's hammer. "Who are you?" Loki withdrew his hands and silently put them into his suit jacket, ready to pull out the dagger at any time. "My name is Rog, I'm a ninja." "Ninja? What kind of occupation was this?" Loki thought that Rog was a sorcerer like himself, so he could see through his invisibility spell so easily. In the eyes of Coulson and others, Rog seemed to be talking to the air at this time. But as an experienced agent, Coulson immediately reacted and quietly arranged for shield staff to scan the environment near Thor's hammer. After looking at Rog carefully, Loki didn't say a word and turned away. A strange guy came out of nowhere and he didn't look strong at all. He was a low-level existence that didn't need to be cared about at all. Rog didn't stop Loki from leaving, but silently observed the energy around his body that couldn't be detected by the naked eye with Sharingan, and memorized the way this energy worked that he had never seen before. "Is this Asgard's magic? Interesting." When Loki's figure completely disappeared, Rog turned to Coulson and said, "That guy is gone." Next, it was a routine release procedure. The only thing worth noting was that when leaving the research base, Thor silently took a notebook placed on the table. "I didn't expect you to have talent in this area." Shield staff didn't notice Thor's little move at all, allowing him to easily take away the notebook that belonged to Dr. Jane Foster. "Why can you lift Mjolnir? And why did you come to save me?" "These questions I'll answer you later. What you need now is to change into clean clothes and solve your food problem by the way." More than an hour later, in a 24-hour chain restaurant in Anticapuant, Rog, Thor, and Dr. Jane Foster looked at each other and maintained a strange silence. "Who are you?" Thor took the lead to break the silence. My name is Rog, I'm a private detective. Rog didn't say that he was a ninja because if he said that he was a ninja he would have to explain what a ninja was later. This would make the topic more complicated. Private detective? Obviously, whether it was a ninja or a private detective, Thor didn't understand either. You can understand it as a person who gets paid and then helps others solve their problems. Rog explained simply. I see, it's similar to mercenaries. Although Asgard didn't have a private detective, there were mercenaries, so Thor quickly understood the profession of a private detective. Strictly speaking, private detectives and mercenaries were two completely different professions. But no one cared about these small details now. Why can you lift Mjolnir? This is not something that Midgard people can do. You're a bit of regional discrimination. Although Asgard has a longer history, Midgard is not a backward place. And whether or not you can lift Mjolnir has nothing to do with Asgard. As long as your father's spell recognizes it, anyone can lift it. Dr. Forster, who was sitting next to Thor, looked at Thor and Rog with a confused expression. She knew every word that Thor and Rog said, but she didn't understand the meaning. My father. Thor's expression suddenly became lonely. I saw your brother just now, he's quite handsome but a bit cunning, he's not an honest person. Loki has always been like this, he likes to play pranks since he was young. When he mentioned Loki, Thor's lonely face showed a hint of relief. Looking at Thor's current appearance, Rog couldn't help but sigh. They were both raised by the same parents, how could their IQs be so different? He had intended to remind Saul tactfully and let him know that Odin was still alive. But now he gave up on that plan. Your father is not dead yet. Don't underestimate him. He is the father of all gods, a powerful existence in the entire universe. Chapter 87. My father isn't dead? Thor's voice became agitated. Of course. You have to have some faith in your father. The name Father of Gods is not just a title. Without enough strength, the others in the universe will not recognize the title of Father of Gods. Hearing this, Thor calmed down a little and began to think seriously. After eliminating some subjective thoughts, he felt more and more that Rog's words were correct. The main reason was that Loki had too many bad records, so after calming down, Thor quickly noticed the loopholes. Then how can I go back? Thor asked the question he was most concerned about. I don't know. Thor thought that Rog knew how to get him back to Asgard, but Rog's answer instantly extinguished his hope. Actually, I also want to go to Asgard. So if you find your own strength, I hope you can bring me along. The reason why Rog said so much to Thor was purely because he also wanted to go to Asgard and see a world outside of Earth. The universe is so big, I want to see it. In addition, he also wanted to go to Asgard to see a civilization that was completely different from Earth, especially when it came to combat and magic. You want to go to Asgard? That's right. Looking at Rog's serious face, Thor seriously thought about it. Bringing a Midgardian to Asgard was not in line with Asgard's rules, but it was not a particularly serious matter. After thinking seriously for a few minutes, Thor finally made a decision. If I can return to Asgard, I can bring you along. However, I have a condition. I hope you can protect the people here from harm during this period of time. Although Thor was not as smart as Loki, he had lived with Loki for more than 1,000 years after all. So after figuring out some things, he knew what Loki would do next. After losing Thor's power for a few days, he finally began to understand what Odin had often told him before, the responsibility of being a king. No problem. Not to mention just protecting the people here, even if Thor asked him to deal with Loki, he would not refuse. After reaching an agreement with Thor, Rog left the restaurant and booked a room in the town's best hotel, and paid the room fee for a week in one lump sum. Rog wanted to book a room for Thor, but after thinking of Thor's Dr. Jane Foster, he silently gave up the idea. With Thor's appearance, even if he was unfamiliar with the place and had no money, he would never live on the streets. After all, this kind of man with a strong body, handsome face, and long blonde hair was very popular with the opposite sex in this country. In the next few days, Thor stayed with Dr. Jane Foster, teaching Dr. Jane Foster about the universe, and at the same time trying to learn about the Earth. In the evening, Thor usually stayed with Dr. Jane Foster. During the day he would appear beside Rog. Although he had lost the power of Thor that he was proud of, and Asgard's innate strong physique had been suppressed to the level of ordinary people, Thor did not sink because of this. It was because he was now in the weakest period of his life that he needed strength more. Although he did not have the strength of the past, Thor quickly adapted to his current state and showed the fighting qualities that a top warrior should have. That punch just now was good, as expected of Asgard's former Thor. In order to make the battle more fair, Rog did not use chakra, nor did he open Sharingan. Your fighting skills are also very good, and there are not many people in Asgard's royal guards who can have your skills. While Rog and Thor were learning from each other, Thor's friends, 3 warriors of Sengoku and Sif, came to Earth with the help of Heimdall. If possible, Sif and others would not want to go to Earth in a way that violates the king's orders. But there is no other way, who told Loki to sit on the throne of Asgard now. The huge energy of Bifrost connecting the 2 worlds not only attracted the attention of S.H.I.E.L.D., but also Rog's attention. That thing just now should be Bifrost. It looks like someone is looking for you. Rog pointed to the funnel-like spiral cloud in the distance. Yes, it's Bifrost that is teleporting. Thor's eyes instantly became serious, looking at the spiral cloud in the distance with a dignified expression. Thor thought that the person who came this time was sent by Loki, but when he saw that it was Sif and others who were teleporting, the dignified expression on his face disappeared in an instant. In Asgard, in addition to his parents and Loki, he trusts the 3 warriors of Sengoku and Sif the most. However, before he had time to talk to Sif and others, Bifrost opened again, sending the real enemy over. At the end of Bifrost's second teleportation, Rog used Chakra's perception to perceive the target of the teleportation. This almost cheat-like energy intensity is worthy of the destroyer specially built by Odin. Get ready for battle, the destroyer is here. Rog silently reminded Thor. When the flying dust raised by the teleportation gradually dissipated, Coulson and others, who had rushed over, finally saw the true appearance of the destroyer. Is it a robot made by Stark? I don't know, that guy wouldn't tell me anything. Coulson took the handheld loudspeaker from the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent next to him, came to the destroyer and said loudly, "Hello, your weapons and equipment are not registered, please identify yourself immediately." The advancing destroyer stopped silently after hearing Coulson's words, and then opened the armor on its face. Just when Coulson and others thought that the destroyer would identify itself according to their request, they saw the flame-like orange-red light shining on the destroyer's body. Then there was a powerful high-temperature beam of light. Boom. It only took a few seconds for the destroyer to blast the S.H.I.E.L.D. vehicle in front of him into wreckage, and then he walked straight towards the town. Meet the enemy outside the town. You should know better than me what kind of power the destroyer has. If we fight in the town, even if we win, the town will probably be gone. Sensing the power of the high-temperature beam just fired by the destroyer, Rog turned to Thor and said, "We are responsible for stopping the destroyer, you are responsible for evacuating the town's residents." Thor did not refuse Rog's suggestion to meet the enemy outside the town, but he did not intend to let Rog participate in this battle. This is Asgard's business, and it should be solved by Asgard's people. No, the weak guy is responsible for evacuating the residents. You are the weakest here, so you are responsible. Chapter 88. The weakest guy was in charge of evacuating the town's residents? Thor had lived for more than 1,000 years, but this was the first time he had heard someone say this to him. I like this guy, haha. Volstagg, one of the 3 warriors of Sengoku, patted Thor on the shoulder, then put his axe on his shoulder and laughed as he walked out of the town. Being weak is a sin. You can slowly get used to this now. Fandral, one of the 3 warriors of Sengoku, did not laugh like Volstagg, but he turned his head and gave Thor a look that said, "You know what I mean." As for Hogg, he did not say anything. He just sighed silently, then took the warhammer in his hand and followed Volstagg, who was the first to leave. Sif had wanted to fight the destroyer with the 3 warriors of Sengoku, but after seeing Thor's helpless expression, she decided to stay and evacuate the town's residents with Thor. After saying this, Rog used the body flicker technique to leave the town. He was not willing to let go of the opportunity to fight the destroyer. The destroyer was an ultimate weapon personally created by the father of gods, Odin. It was originally created to resist the invasion of Earth by the celestial gods. But after its creation, the most important thing the destroyer did was to guard Asgard's palace treasury. Although the destroyer had not officially fought against the celestial gods, it was enough to make people pay 120% attention to the ultimate weapon that Odin had entrusted with such a heavy responsibility, even if it did not have any dazzling achievements. The destroyer's main material was URU metal, and its energy source was Odin's divine power. This meant that the destroyer not only had an incomparably strong defense, but also had an almost inexhaustible energy. Looking at the destroyer's height of more than 6 meters and its body that was emitting a silver-white light, the first thought that came to Rog's mind was not that the destroyer was very strong, but that it should be very valuable. Just as Rog's mind was filled with thoughts that he should not have had, the destroyer opened its face armor, and then a powerful high-temperature light beam shot out. Boom! The high-temperature beam hit the ground where Rog had just stood, leaving a 3-meter-wide crater in the ground. As for Rog himself, just as the high-temperature beam was about to hit him, he used the body flicker technique to change his position. After dodging the high-temperature beam of the destroyer, Rog bit his right thumb and slapped it directly to the ground. Spirit communication technique. With his right palm as the center, a complicated psychic formation appeared on the ground, followed by 2 clouds of white smoke of different sizes. The Punisher and Abomination were summoned. The Punishers and Abominations were originally attacking a notorious gang and were about to achieve victory. However, at this critical moment they were summoned by Rog. Ever since they became Rog's spiritual beasts, this was the first time they were summoned in battle. The Punisher did not think too much about the fact that he had summoned it out. His expression was as calm as ever. Compared to the Punisher's calm expression, the Abomination was incomparably excited. He could finally enjoy the thrill of battle. Finally, I don't have to bully those weaklings anymore. Finally, he could enjoy the battle to his heart's content. After listening to Rog's instructions, the Abomination rushed toward the destroyer without saying a word. At the same time, it let out a series of excited roars. Just as the Abomination was about to pounce on the destroyer like a hungry wolf, a dull and heavy sound suddenly came from its body. Bang! The Abomination did not realize what had happened at all. It only felt an indescribable pain in its abdomen, and then it was blasted away. Facing the menacing Abomination, the destroyer did not do much. It did not even continue to shoot the high-temperature beam. The only thing the destroyer did was to raise its right leg and kick the Abomination after the Abomination entered its attack range. Then the Abomination was kicked away. After flying more than 100 meters, the Abomination fell from the air and slammed into the ground. The destroyer was actually so strong? Seeing the Abomination being kicked away so easily, Rog realized that he seemed to have underestimated the destroyer. If it was him who was kicked just now, Rog couldn't help but take a breath. However, he wouldn't be kicked by the destroyer like the Abomination. Only the Abomination, whose mind is full of fighting, would fight the destroyer in such a reckless way. After taking a look at the Abomination who was kicked out, Rog turned his attention back to the destroyer. Facing the destroyer, a fighting machine with almost no obvious shortcomings, it is the stupidest tactic to confront it with brute force. The Abomination has proved this very well. In that case, let's use speed to determine the outcome. Rog opened Sharingan in an instant, and then threw a Flying Thor Kunai at the destroyer. Although the destroyer saw the Flying Thor Kunai, it didn't take the Flying Thor Kunai seriously. In its judgment, the Flying Thor Kunai is the kind of weak attack that will not cause any injury even if it is hit. Clang. The Flying Thor Kunai hit the destroyer's chest without any suspense, making a crisp sound of metal collision, and then bounced away. At the moment when the Flying Thor Kunai was bounced away, Rog's Flying Thunder God came to the front of the destroyer and grasped the Flying Thor Kunai with his left hand. Odama Rasengan. An Odama Rasengan with a diameter of 1 meter appeared in Rog's right hand, and then hit the destroyer's chest fiercely. Although the destroyer has a certain degree of self-thinking, Rog's attack is completely beyond its scope of understanding. The destroyer didn't even have time to launch a high-temperature beam before it was hit by Rog's Odama Rasengan. The twisting and tearing ability of Odama Rasengan fell completely on the destroyer, and the 6-meter-tall destroyer flew out in an irregular spiral shape. The destroyer's limbs and body were quickly twisted, as if the whole body was disrupted and then reorganized randomly. However, the destroyer that was knocked away quickly stood up again, and under Rog's gaze, the twisted limbs and body were restored to their original appearance. Is this okay? The destroyer's characteristic structure makes it immune to the damage of Odama Rasengan. Except for making it a little embarrassed, Odama Rasengan did not cause much damage to it. Odama Rasengan did not play the expected effect, and Rog did not care too much about this. He raised his hand and used another ninjutsu. Would release, Wood Dragon Jutsu. The destroyer is not Abomination or Hulk, so when he used Wood Dragon Jutsu he did not hold back at all. Nearly 20 meters long, the long hook-nosed Wood Dragon sprang out of the ground, like a python that catches its prey, tightly entwining the 6-meter-tall destroyer. Chapter 89. It was the same entanglement effect, but when the wood dragon entangled the destroyer, it was obviously more strenuous than when it entangled the Hulk and the abomination. This also caused Rog to have to increase the output of chakra of the wood dragon technique. The destroyer was more difficult to deal with than the abomination and the Hulk because there was no such thing as physical strength in the destroyer. Therefore, the longer the destroyer was entangled with the abomination and the Hulk, the less physical strength they had. Although the wood dragon could not absorb physical strength from the destroyer, in addition to absorbing the target's physical strength, the wood dragon could also absorb the energy in the target's body. However, when the wood dragon began to absorb the energy in the destroyer's body, an unexpected scene happened. The wood dragon successfully absorbed the energy in the destroyer's body, but as soon as the energy from Odin was absorbed, the nearly 20-meter-long wood dragon burned. In an instant, the hook-nosed wood dragon turned into a fire dragon. This sudden flame not only exceeded Rog's expectations but also caused the three warriors of Sengoku behind him to look at each other. On the way here, the three warriors of Sengoku first witnessed the abomination descend from the sky and then the destroyer being sent flying by Rog. When they finally arrived at the battlefield where Rog and the destroyer were fighting, they saw the wood dragon entangling the destroyer instantly turn into a fire dragon. Although the three warriors of Sengoku had never fought against the destroyer, they knew very well how powerful this ultimate weapon that Odin had personally created was. But at this moment, they watched helplessly as the destroyer was restrained by Rog, an earthling. Although the wood dragon entangling the destroyer had turned into a fire dragon, the wood dragon showed no signs of burning or breaking. The reason why the wood dragon could still entangle the destroyer tightly was that Rog was frantically outputting his chakra. After his chakra unit changed from a card to a tail, he thought that he would not need to worry about the amount of chakra for a long time. But now he realized that his idea was a little too naive. After maintaining it for more than 10 seconds, Rog decisively gave up on maintaining the wood dragon spell. Without the infusion of Rog's chakra, the burning wooden dragon quickly showed signs of burning. Its nearly 20-meter-long body was continuously corroded by the flames and was torn apart into pieces of burning wood. Seeing this, the three warriors of Sengoku could not help but sigh. If the wood dragon had held on for a while longer, perhaps the destroyer would have stopped because of the lack of energy. Although this possibility wasn't high, it wasn't impossible. When the wooden dragon wrapped around the destroyer shattered into pieces of burning wood, Loki, who was sitting on the throne of Asgard's palace, suddenly stood up. This earthling was more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. Loki, who was holding the Gungnir, looked at Rog seriously through the destroyer's perspective. He quickly made a decision and headed to the Bifrost. Without the entanglement of the wood dragon, the destroyer also regained its ability to move. Just as the destroyer was about to use the high-temperature light beam to eliminate Rog, the obstacle, Rog, in front of it silently formed a seal. Forming seals was not necessary for Rog. It was just that in order to make the following scene more ritualistic, he decided to add such a link at the last minute. The moment Rog finished forming the seal, a huge wooden figure more than 25 meters tall crawled out of the ground like an ancient beast. Mokutan, wood puppet technique. Looking at this huge wooden figure that was 4 times its height, the destroyer's self-awareness immediately made an extremely dangerous judgment. Since absorbing the energy in the destroyer's body would cause the wood dragon to catch fire, there was no need to use the wood dragon to absorb energy. If the advantage of the wood dragon spell was to control the target and absorb energy, then the advantage of the wood puppet technique was its extremely strong physical influence. Even if you have a body made of URU metal. Even if you have Odin's divine power as a source of energy. Today I will definitely reform you. With a thought, the godlike wooden figure Arhat raised his fists. Boom 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 boom. F***CK tactics and strategies, and F***CK combat skills. The bigger the fist is the truth. Under Rog's control, the wooden figure Arhat seemed to have transformed into a bodhisattva praising the Gatling gun of Nanwu. Its fists were like 6 big, clean pipes that were spinning 3,600 times per second. Great compassion to the world, physical conversion to my Buddha. Da-da-da-da-da. Clearly under the scorching sun, the 3 warriors of Sengoku felt a chill from the bottom of their hearts. Is this guy really human? He must be an evil god that had transmigrated from a different dimension. How could this kind of person appear in Midgard? He should be conquering the universe, not staying in this weak chicken country where the average combat power is less than 5. At this time, Rog did not know what the 3 warriors of Sengoku were thinking. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was to blast the annoying silver-white human-shaped self-propelled armor in front of him into the block form that metal should have. The sound of missiles exploding continued to ring out, and the ground continued to vibrate with palpitating vibrations. Coulson and the others who had first encountered the destroyer also rushed over at this time. Then, like the three warriors of Sengoku, they looked at Rog, who was emitting a light blue light all over his body, with a shocked expression. In order to maintain the tyrannical and unreasonable influence of the wooden figure Arhat, Rog almost operated his chakra to the limit. Time passed little by little, and when the 25-meter-tall wooden figure Arhat finally stopped waving his fists, what appeared in front of them was a deep circular pit with a diameter of tens of meters. As for the originally majestic destroyer, its original appearance was completely unrecognizable. Even the orange-red light in the destroyer's body that seemed to never be extinguished had completely disappeared. It's finally over. When the wooden figure Arhat stopped, the people present could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. After confirming that there were no energy fluctuations on the destroyer, Rog also ended the wooden figure technique and gasped for breath. Such an intense output of chakra made him experience what it meant to be tired after being impulsive. If it were not for the sake of maintaining his image, he would not even want to stand now. He just wanted to lie on the ground and rest. Just when everyone thought that the matter had come to an end, the hammer of Thor, more than 10 kilometers away, suddenly soared into the sky and flew toward the town at a speed faster than the speed of sound. Then, a thundercloud quickly gathered in the sky, and a giant lightning bolt more than 10 meters thick struck down fiercely, making a thunderous sound that resounded for tens of kilometers. Chapter 90. After the giant lightning bolt, a powerful aura instantly enveloped the entire town. Even Rog and the others who were a few kilometers away from the town, could clearly feel the godlike aura. Thor had returned. Sensing the powerful aura coming from the town, Rog revealed a puzzled expression. How could he retrieve Thor's power just by evacuating the townspeople? He didn't know what had happened, but he was sure that Thor had successfully retrieved Thor's power. He was even stronger than before he lost Thor's power. Thor's right hand gripped Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, and his clothes turned into Thor's armor. His red cloak fluttered even though there was no wind. Blue lightning bolts that were visible to the naked eye were swimming around his body like electric snakes. Sif and Dr. Forster couldn't help but smile when they saw Thor turn back into Thor. Sif was happy because the Thor she knew had returned. The Thor who had led them to defeat one enemy after another had returned. Dr. Forster was happy because she had witnessed Thor's resurrection from the dead. Thor's chest had been pierced, and he had turned back into a mythical figure. After regaining Thor's power, Thor wasn't as excited as he had imagined. Instead, he looked at Loki calmly. "I thought you just wanted to prove that you were stronger than me, but now I realize that I don't know you at all. I can tolerate your usual pranks and I can also overlook your usual excessive actions. But you shouldn't joke about your father's life, and you shouldn't start a war between Asgard and Jotunheim just to satisfy your desire for the throne. Loki, you've really made a mistake this time." Thor didn't expect his younger brother to appear behind him and pierce his chest with the Gungnir while he was evacuating the townspeople. "I am also the heir to the throne. I can make Asgard the ruler of the 9 realms. I can let the entire universe know of Asgard's power. I will prove to my father that I am the most suitable person to become Asgard's king. It's not my fault, it's the world's." Loki still didn't think there was anything wrong with what he had done. Become Asgard's king, destroy Jotunheim's frost giants, and lead Asgard's army to conquer the 9 realms. Listening to Loki's Chinibu speech, Roger suddenly felt that his usual Chinibu actions were not worth mentioning compared to Loki's. After sensing that Saul had regained the power of the Thunder God, he dragged his tired body back to the town and caught up with Loki's Chinibu speech. "No, you will never become Asgard's king." As soon as his voice fell, the Thor's hammer in Thor's hand flew towards Loki like lightning. Then it directly pierced through Loki's illusion. "He left a long time ago. He should be there now." Rog pointed outside the town. When Thor looked in the direction of Rog's finger, he saw the unique teleportation beam of Bifrost. As Thor's younger brother, Loki knows Thor's character better than anyone else. So after Thor regained control of Thor's power, he left the town as soon as possible. What Saul and the others saw was nothing more than an illusion he left behind. When he returned to the town, Rog was almost deceived by Loki's illusion. If he didn't open his Sharingan and observe carefully, he wouldn't have been able to see that it was an illusion. The one who controls Bifrost now should still be Heimdall. He can help us return to Asgard. Only the guardian sword in Heimdall's hand can open Bifrost. So after seeing Loki leave through Bifrost, Thor instinctively thought that Bifrost was still under Heimdall's control. But he ignored a small problem, that is, it was the guardian sword that opened Bifrost, not Heimdall himself. As long as one has the guardian sword, anyone can open Bifrost. I hope so. Rog was not as optimistic as Thor. If his guess is correct, the one who controls the guardian sword in Bifrost is definitely not Heimdall. As Rog guessed, the one who is guarding Bifrost is not Heimdall but a frost giant. As for Heimdall, he is firmly frozen in ice at this time. After returning to Asgard through the Bifrost Bridge, Loki came to the two frost giants guarding the Bifrost Bridge. Phew. Phew. Two indestructible energy beams shot out from the tip of the Gungnir, directly turning the two frost giants in front of Loki into an atomic state. This is not the first time he killed a frost giant. Before leaving Asgard, he used the same method to kill the frost giant King Laufey. Laufey never thought that he would die at the hands of his own son, Loki. The weapon that killed him was actually the Gungnir of his old enemy, Odin. If time could go back, Laufey would never have trusted Loki so easily, even if he was his own son. After taking care of the two frost giants guarding Bifrost, Loki went to the control panel of Bifrost and summoned the frost giant's divine artifact, the Chest of Frost. When the Chest of Frost, shining with dark blue light, appeared in Loki's hand, his skin became more like a frost giant. Only those with the bloodline of the frost giants can use the Chest of Frost. Just as Loki was trying to aim Bifrost at Jotunheim, he heard a crisp sound of ice breaking. Then, a tall figure appeared behind him and sent him flying with a punch. The one who sent Loki flying was none other than Heimdall. The reason why Heimdall became the guardian of Bifrost was not only because he had Heimdall's eyes that could perceive all things, but also because of his own strength. The guardian of Bifrost was Asgard's first line of defense. If it weren't for a moment of carelessness, Heimdall wouldn't have been frozen by Loki's Chest of Frost, and he wouldn't have lost the guardian sword that controlled Bifrost. As soon as Heimdall sent Loki flying, he heard Thor's shout. Heimdall ignored Loki, who was sent flying, and pointed Bifrost at Thor on Earth, opening the interstellar teleportation. In the next second, the exit of Bifrost shone with a rainbow-like light. In the rainbow-colored light, figures emerged one after another. Thor, Sif, the three warriors of Sengoku, and Rog. In the end, Thor fulfilled his promise and brought Rog to Asgard. They saw Heimdall on the control panel and Loki holding the Gungnir. You're tuning in to the Han Lee's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.